And that was a big part of it. And also, and as a business owner, I want to sell you 2 or 3 beers and a pretzel. I don't want to sell you one beer and
Yeah, exactly.
you stumble out of here.
Exactly.
Sue me. So
No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
So as much as I tried to segue and rush the top threes, I've now derailed the top threes, have I not? Yes, we did.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, December the 28th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Happy National Eat Chocolate Day today.
Happy National Eat Chocolate. Isn't that? Wait a minute, I thought it was National Chocolate Candy Day also.
It is that as well. So I've got some chocolate to eat, and I've got some chocolate
So it's National Chocolate Candy Day and National Eat Chocolate Day.
So I'm eating some Hershey's Kisses here.
So you're gonna eat some Hershey's Kisses. I'm gonna eat a Cheryl's chocolate brownie that's falling apart when I take it out of the.
Anything special in that brownie?
You'll find out in about 20 minutes.
and that was a big part of it. And also, and as a business owner,
Well,
I want to sell
apparently-
you 2 or 3 beers. And
We'll
a
find
pretzel.
out right
I don't
now,
want to sell you
considering
one
you
beer
just
and
Yeah,
reran the
exactly.
intro.
stumble out of here.
Exactly.
Sue me. So
No, you don't want to do.
You couldn't hear that?
No, I muted it. I didn't even hit it.
Something
Oh, we
happened.
might as well let it finish playing then. Here I go. There you go. How's that?
It's not playing right now.
It's not playing right now. What if I do this?
That'll work.
There you go. How's that? Is that good? Did you find him face down in his waffle?
It's foul.
Yeah, nice fade out for you. There you go.
It's a good fade out. Yeah, you're just the one that hear me sing along with the theme song. Spared all of our guests. And
Technology today, folks. Let's put it this way: 2021 has been a very, very crappy technology year for the Log Room show. Well, when we got on before, we were getting things ready for the show, and I froze for about 5 minutes, so that was fun. Had to reboot the modem. That was good. Dave's got a new mic, so we had to spend some time fixing. There's a new mic. Very nice. Very pretty Yeti. Very nice.
Thank you, Carrie.
And got it working nice, but it was a little loud when
Yeah, I just had to
first
turn the
got it,
gain
so
down and change the shape a little. And
change the pattern. Yep. That was
pattern,
good. So,
shape,
Pattern.
pattern. And oddly enough,
the shape of the pattern.
the shape of the pattern.
If you will.
Oddly enough, setting it to infinity knocked down the ambient noise.
And then the without any touching it, actually the intro ran again on its own because I didn't even touch it to touch the cart, if you will.
There might be a ghost in the machine.
I think it probably is. That was a good album.
Fantastic album.
Great album. Love that album.
So I'm eating Hershey's Kisses are milk chocolate. I'm not more of a dark chocolate fan, so the blue Linders are dark chocolate.
Right. So this is really good, but
I find the Hershey's Kisses more chocolatey than the dark chocolate Linders.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway,
I do enjoy the Lindors. They're really good. Is Francisco involved in that at all? No.
No.
Oh, that's the show tomorrow night, right? Okay, we could talk about sports on the show. We've talked about sports before.
we have, but let's not,
Probably a good idea. All right.
because we get into why the hell you still watching the Giants? Why do you do this to yourself every week?
I'm done.
Right.
I don't even care.
Right, bullshit.
I think I'm actually going to watch. Here's the thing, right? Really quick. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about it after we bring our guest on.
Yes.
Because he might have an opinion or two.
He may.
All
And who? Now this is the year-end 2021 show.
Year-end 2021 show. Yes, it is.
So what schmuck did we get to show up on this one?
Well, today we were bringing on one of our illustrious producers, Mr. Matt Potenski. There he is. Right
there he is.
And I'll throw his moniker up here, right here. Matt Potenski, beer brewer, mead maker, and producer extraordinaire. Matt, it says title subject to change in 2022.
Yeah, we have some projects going on, so
It's mysterious and vague.
Interesting.
I'm going to sit here and pretend that I don't know what that means.
Couple little Easter eggs.
But we have, so we got one producer on. The other producer could not be with us today.
And this is why.
He's stranded.
He's stranded, and this is why. Right there.
Yeah.
He's stranded. So.
Cheers, Brian.
Cheers, Brian.
So he found something better to do.
He is on a boat He's on a
He's
boat.
on a motherfucking
He's
boat.
on a motherfucking boat. Right.
Actually, right there, he's on an island, isn't he?
That's the Bahamas. He's in the Bahamas.
The Coco Key, right?
Yeah, Coco Key.
Coco Key.
Somewhere like that.
Coco Key. Isn't that like Cuban eggnog? Coco Key? No, it's Coquito.
No, it's Cojito.
Cookie, and I drank
Coquito. And you had it last week, right?
No, a couple of weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Last week I was in Florida.
Last week you were in Florida. That's right.
We had a Coquito Mead at Melavino the last 2 weeks.
I know. I saw that. I wanted.
Is it gone?
We made 2 kegs and they both disappeared. It was on the nitro line.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic.
Oh God, that must have been amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so really quick, getting back to the subject that we were just talking about before we brought you on. Here's the thing: as far as the Giants go, the only thing that the Giants really have to do with beer. No, the only thing that the Giants have to do with beer is that they make you want to drink a lot of it.
John has drank a lot of it this season.
I have blood dry, more than normal. Let's put it that way. But
if anything had more hiccups and stalls than John's computer this year,
oh God, it's the Giants. It's the Giants. The Giants make my computer look like it's brand friggin' new.
Well, I mean, the only problem is that you might want to watch, I believe, the next game because they're playing the Bears. So
yeah, but it doesn't matter.
When we get 2 picks, which pick is first, our pick or their pick?
Exactly. That's the problem. They're right next to each other. So if the Giants win, the Bears pick is first. If the Giants lose, the Giants pick is first. It doesn't really matter because they're going to have the same 2 picks. So this week they can tie. Right. So
probably.
I was actually going to say if it wasn't for that pick, I'd actually probably wear. If it wasn't for the fact that they have the Bears pick, I'd actually probably wear a Bears jersey for this game on Sunday because I'm just done. It's ridiculous. But like everybody says, especially Gene has been saying, you know what time it is for me to just continually wear which jersey now.
Packers.
Yeah, Packers. It's Packers time.
Just put the Packers jersey on and shut up.
Anyway.
I'll be wearing my Rangers jersey.
Texas Rangers?
No. Wrong season.
I'm sure Gene will be wearing his Marshawn Lynch jersey. So.
Gene will be wearing his Marshawn Lynch, Bills jersey.
Biscuits and gravy.
Right. There you go. Anyway. So, it is the 2021 wrap-up show. So let's get going. Let's
wrap this fucking.
Let's wrap this fucker up. There you go. You guys are already drinking your beers. I'll throw them up. Matt, you are drinking Men in Gray Suits, correct?
Oh, are you still hungover that you're going to throw up?
No, that's not.
Oh, not that throw up.
Yeah. Men in Gray Suits.
For the non-marine biologists among us, Men in Gray Suits is kind of like a term we use for sharks.
There you go.
Yeah, we call sharks Men in Gray Suits.
It's from Tripping Animals, and it's a collab with Vitamin C, right?
Men in Gray Suits, or so on and so forth. So, hence, you got a bunch of sharks on the label, which
very nice.
Yeah, I'm about as much of a marine biologist.
You know, I'm all about it.
There you go.
I'm about as much of a marine biologist as George Costanza.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, I mean, he did work for our Vandal Industries.
Triple IPA, since we're doing big ABV beers. Talking about big ABV beers. This is about the biggest IPA I had. So
there you go.
That works. That's a 10.
That's Tripping Animals. It's a collab you said with Vitamin C. Is that right?
Yep, correct.
Very nice.
And like I said before, I just love the name Tripping Animals because I can't tell if they're just sticking their feet out and making all the animals fall on their face, or if the animals are tripping balls for some reason.
Let's hope.
Citra, Cashmere, and Simcoe for anyone interested at home. So.
Very nice. Very nice.
Solid hop blend there.
Absolutely. Samurai, what are you drinking?
I came in under him for the ABV, but not too far. I went with 9%, and I'm going with the Dogs of War.
There you go.
And what's interesting is having eaten some chocolate before this, it's taken all the cocoa notes out of the beer, so I'm getting the chili more than anything. Even and the raspberry seems to have faded on me because of the chocolate again.
Right.
And it's really the cinnamon and the chipotle is what's really sticking out on this. And you know what? I got to say, I'm enjoying that.
Very nice.
You know how I love my chipotle.
I had that one at Carton, and I was pretty happy with it. It wasn't super berry, and it wasn't super spicy, but it had everything, and it was it was actually pretty well balanced, I thought.
Exactly, it is, and the reason I picked it up is because Carton doesn't do a lot of imp stouts.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they did one, adjunct it, it's like, I gotta give this a try, especially with what was in it.
Sure.
And it's quite a yummy beer. I'm sorry, as John would say, it's very tasty.
It's a very tasty beer. Very tasty beer. So anyway, and Anybody going to Carton on? I mean, regular coffee releases on. Is it usually New Year's Day, right? Don't they do that?
I thought it was February.
President's Week.
Was it President's Week?
Yeah.
They used to do. Well, they do something on New Year's Day. I know that.
Yeah,
I thought they used to. They used to release regular coffee on New Year's Day, didn't they? Pretty sure.
I don't remember. No, I always thought it was February.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they used to release it then. But either way, they're open on New Year's Day, so might take a ride up there. Could be an interesting day.
I may be a little too hungover.
Might you be? I'm not doing anything. Jess is working, so I'm just hanging out.
I'm not. We're probably not leaving the apartment because you know what New Year's Eve is like. It's amateur hour out there.
Mm-hmm. No, this is true. It's less of amateur hour than the night before Thanksgiving, though. It is.
Oh, it's all the college kids all getting back together. Yeah,
and by New Year's, all the college kids have already been back together, and they're pretty well hammered by then anyway. So
yeah,
it's just house parties at that point anyway. So anyway, I will be drinking. I'm less than you guys. I'm at 5.8%. So
quite.
I went really low. Had to for the first one. Sorry. I moved through Shadow. It's a dark lager. It's not they don't classify it as a Schwarzbier or a Czech dark lager, just a dark lager. I think it's their interpretation. It's from Heavy Row Brewing. It's a it's a little more roasty. They use a little bit more roasty malts than your typical Schwarzbier would. But it's pretty chocolatey. It's pretty tasty. So and it's again easy to drink. A little bit similar, yeah. It's definitely got a lot of Schwarzbier notes to it. But it's a little more chocolate and a little bit more roasty than normal.
I've always liked smoked box.
Yeah, if they smoked this would be fantastic. So, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
It's tasty beer. It was down there last week.
Happy New Beer.
Happy New Beer.
Almost.
There you go.
I'm getting there.
All right, so we are here to talk about 2021 and what it meant to us in the term of the world of beer, I should say. Let's start with why don't we start with some of the top beers that we had this year, some of our faves throughout the year. Samurai.
Oh, I forgot to put that list together.
Oh,
I got every other list together except for top beers. There was that.
Well, it's not necessarily a list. It just what stood out to you. If it stood out to you, you don't have to write it down. You should know it.
Well, we went on the way up to Maine. We stopped at Deciduous, and they had this pina colada kind of cocktail smoothie beer.
Okay.
First I see a cocktail smoothie beer. I'm like, but then I'm like, it's Deciduous. Let's give it a shot.
Did you get the pastry seltzer that went along with it?
No. And
skip that one, did you?
So it was pina colada with a little bit of lime in it, and man, this thing was so good. So that beer definitely stood out. Let's see what else stood out this year. Well, one of them I'm going to be bringing up a little later, but on another one of our lists, we bring up the brewery anyway. Brewery Salvaticus is their Schwarzbier. Just absolutely one of the best Schwarzbiers I've ever had.
I have yet to enjoy that one. I got to get up there.
Yeah, you got to get up there. That place is fantastic. They're doing some fantastic work. The liquid they're pumping is great. And let's see, did anything else stand out this year? You're going to have to come back to me. I got to really think about that.
Right. You can involve breweries. I mean, we can. This doesn't have to be a list, mind you. We can talk about just the.
Oh well, I got a separate list for my the top breweries that I visited this year that were new to me.
You could do that. Matt, you have any beers off the top of your head? I want to actually interrupt this. I actually went back to Al's. I went to Al's page because I wanted to bring up something that he had posted before. I thought was pretty funny. I was talking about it with Matt earlier, but I know this isn't the sports. Gattulo, yeah. I know this isn't the sports podcast, but he just shared it 5 minutes ago, and 10 minutes ago it was posted that John Madden just passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, that sucks.
It does suck.
He unexpectedly at 85 this morning.
One more shot that 2021 decided to take before it went out, huh?
Yeah, that sucks. So,
I was going to say, I just posted today about E.O. Wilson passing away over the weekend. He was 92.
Mm-hmm.
It's good life.
People who aren't a biologist, you probably have no idea who he is.
Not a clue, but we can sit here and pretend.
Huge evolutionary biologist. He studied ants, and he wrote a lot of things that had to do with group selection as opposed to natural selection. And
Okay.
basically changed. Basically, a lot of people consider him the modern Darwin because he took kind of simple ideas and made them much more complex, and even in terms that you could almost apply to human beings then, which was pretty cool.
Well, we are animals, so
yeah,
some more so than others.
But when I was going through school, he was a big hero of mine. I loved his books. He has a book called Biophilia, which was basically all about humans' basically need for nature and animals and everything like that. So,
sure.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, that need for nature and animals seems to be dying out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's, it was the conservation and everything was one big thing in the end.
Well, because here we are, sitting on a podcast, and I'm going to sit here and complain about the people that are just doing this all the time and not paying attention to anything that's hanging around.
There's the ESPN update.
ESPN
just came up
across, yeah. Mine did too. I just saw it on. I got it late. So rest in peace. What was his name?
John Madden.
No.
E.O. Wilson.
E.O. Wilson.
The announcement he just got was John Madden.
No, I know. Okay. I think ESPN reported.
So are we gonna pour one out for our homies?
Yeah. Well, we can just toast what we're drinking.
I'm just gonna just toast. Yeah, let's just toast.
Rest in peace, E.O. Wilson and Mr. John Madden. Sucks. Anyway, but the
will his eyebrows get a separate casket?
I don't know, but he's together again with Mr. Summerall, so they can call a game together again.
Those were some of the best.
They were the best, absolutely, by far. I may have to watch, and not that the movie was the best thing since sliced bread, but I may have to watch The Replacements tonight. So, there you go. So, anyway, all right, back to the regularly scheduled program. Matt, any top beers that you want to mention?
Yeah, I'll start locally. Probably one of my favorite beers of the year was from Alternate Endings down in Matawan, New Jersey. They made a rye Schwartz beer this year that was called Gone to Plaid, which is obviously it's a Spaceballs reference, which is Amazeballs, if we want to call it. And two, it was just a super good beer. So their whole brew house and everything is really crazy. It's actually set up for decoction mashing. So they are doing like double, or they even did one triple decocted beer, which to me is nuts because it took them 9.5 hours to do the brew day or whatever.
That's crazy.
But it's a very, basically you're taking some of the wort, boiling it, and then putting it back into the mash to raise the mash temp up. So it's common in German brewing, but it's not very common in America because it is kind of a pain in the ass. And they literally built their whole brew house for decoction mashing, which is kind of crazy. Like it has a whole separate loop and everything in it. And so, you just get the depth in that beer is you got the spicy rye and you got the roast, and then you got all these caramel notes from from it kind of being boiled and things like that. I was just had for a lager, it had so much flavor. It was crazy. So
that's nice.
That's one of mine.
I definitely got pissed off I missed that one. But.
Yeah. Probably my I have three. So the second one was actually I went on a road trip from Pittsburgh to Denver in last March. And my only caveat for my friend who we were on the road trip, we were basically going to go to hit breweries, distilleries, and barbecue places. So it was a terrible road trip.
Yeah,
but I said my only deal breaker is we need to stop at Perennial Artisan Ales in St. Louis because I've always been a huge fan of them and everything like that. So we get to St. Louis. I wake up in the morning and I look at the website for Perennial and they have coffee Abraxas on tap. And I'm like,
oh my God.
So Abraxas was like one of my white whales for years. It took me forever to find it. And then I had it and I'm like, this beer's delicious. And I've had a couple of the variants. I haven't had the coffee. So I was so excited to have it. And then I got there and I got online and I went up and I'm like, coffee Abraxas. And they're like, oh, the guy like three guys back got the last one. And I'm like, you're killing me. And so we're sitting there, I went with a buddy of mine who's actually a sales rep for one of the malting companies. And we're sitting there and, we're at a little table drinking. We bought a bunch of beers and we're just sitting there drinking our beers. And we see a bunch of guys next to us. They're like drinking a bunch of bourbon and they're going under the little rope back into the brew house. And so we started bullshitting with them about the bourbon. And next thing you know, like one of the guys was one of the sales reps. He's like, "Hey, do you guys like chugging beer?" And we're like, "Of course we like chugging beer." So he took us all through the back bowels of the place, and we went to this secret bar. And then they have some kind of tradition there that they pour you, basically it's a Belgian pale ale, like a full snifter of Belgian pale ale, and they play this music, and he does a toast, and then everyone chugs it. So like 30 of us random people he pulled back there were do this chug and all this stuff and blah blah. Great old time. So we went to leave, and he's like, "Oh, let me run in the back," and blah, blah, blah. And so he grabbed us a bunch of stuff, including a bottle of coffee Abraxas.
There you go.
Which
Nice.
was super cool. And so we got to Denver. We cracked it open, actually, on my birthday, which was awesome. And it was damn good beer. It was delicious. So the beer was really good, but like just the fact that he knew it kicked, and he dug a bottle out and gave it to me was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
That's what I like about the craft beer industry,
Absolutely.
And then the last one, and this is probably the ironic one, because probably my single favorite beer of the entire year was a 3.5% Czech lager. So on Big Beer Day, this is the antithesis of what we're going to talk about. But there's a new brewery in Denver. I landed in Denver in August. I went out to a cousin's wedding. And my same buddy who had done the road trip with early in the year picked me up from the airport. We did not even go to his house. We went right to this new brewery called Cohesion. Mm-hmm. And basically, they have 4 beers on tap. All 4 are Czech lagers. So they had a 3.5% Czech lager. They had a Pilsner Urquell clone. They had another that was slightly higher ABV, different grain bill than Pilsner Urquell. And then they had Tmave Pivo, a dark Czech lager.
Right.
The dark Czech lager was amazing. I knew I was going to like that, but the 3.5% was just unbelievable. It was one of the most beautifully, just bready, light, effervescent, and you're getting half liters of it, and you're like, I can sit here for 3 days and not be totally shithouse, just throwing this thing back. It was That's awesome. Great. So that was Cohesion Brewing in Denver. So that
falls under the classification of beer flavored beer, does it not?
Yes, it was a beautifully beer flavored beer. Mm-hmm. So
speaking of Tmave Pivo, did you get down to Kane and pick up this year's Hollow C? I
did not.
Yeah, I did, and they still have some down there. So get down there, whatever, or it's in 19.2 ounce cans this year.
Nice.
It's not even 16. I took it out. I grabbed it. I'm like, something's wrong with this.
Yeah. Alt Endings has one on tap right now too.
That's right.
So I gotta maybe I'll just stop there on my way down to Canaan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did 2 for
2 beers with 1 stone.
That works.
There we go.
So,
I did come up with a third, John.
Go for it.
Well, in Maine, one of the breweries that surprised us was Blaze. Mm-hmm. Because it's actually it's a small chain.
Sure.
They've got 4 locations, but their beer is surprisingly good. The food's really good too. They're basically a pizza joint, but being from the area, we rarely leave the state and get pizza. But there's one called Bailey Boy, which was this big chocolate imperial porter, brown ale, imperial brown ale.
Okay.
Oh, that was so good.
Nice. I think you told me about that too.
I think I tagged you on the check-in.
That might have been it.
Is what I did.
That might have been it. Whatchamacallit. Yeah, I had. I'm trying to actually find the name of it here. Just to mention a couple of beers that I had from Grist House. I'm wearing the shirt in Pittsburgh. London Crawling. It was an English dark mild. It was phenomenal. That was definitely on the tops of beers for this year. Out in Pittsburgh at Grist House. There was a few great things out there as well, which I'll get to. We're actually putting together a post, an article on our top beers, top breweries.
Oh, that's right, we are, aren't we?
Yeah. It'll involve the 3 of us actually. We'll put it together. We'll have our lists, and we'll post it up towards the end of the week, over the weekend. To kick off 2022. You can read that. We'll post it all over. We'll post it on our website and the Facebook page, and links to it on Instagram and Twitter, and then we'll post it on a couple of the groups too. So if you're watching from any of the groups, you can it'll be on there. You can check it out as well. But yeah, that one was definite, and then there was a bunch. I mean, just to sit here and go over them. It's insane. I mean, talk about some of the breweries that we went to this year as well.
There's been some good ones this year.
There's been some great ones. London Crawling is, like I said, that's definitely at the tops. And another one in Pittsburgh too with FAO in
Schwartz.
FAO Schwartz, yeah, exactly.
May the Schwartz be with you. Here we have the Spaceballs.
Yeah. See, that would have been. See, that's a good name for a Schwartz beer.
There you go.
FAO.
Oh, I'm sure that's been done. Guarantee it's been done.
Doesn't Icarus's Schwartz beer have the word Schwartz in it or something? Or
Maybe the Schwartz.
It's literally got a picture of Lord Helmet on it.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
It does. You're right. It does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That Jason.
I tell you.
Like in all the stuff we like.
But there's a few things.
King Arthur's Steed. That's just the Monty Python reference. Love it.
Another. You're going to talk about Matt. You talked about Pilsners or whatever. Everything out in Cohesion. Another top beer for me this year is Machine Pils from Bunker up in Portland. Amazing beer, and it's a Pilsner. It's one of the best done Pilsners that I've had in
from this country
in quite a long time. And I haven't, and that's not saying anything bad about Cohesion. I haven't had anything from Cohesion, so I can't compare. But Machine was amazing. Matt, you've had Machine Pils before, right?
Yeah.
From Bunker.
It's
how would it compare? How would it compare to Cohesion beers? I mean, I know
Cohesions are. I mean, everything in Cohesion's on the slow pour, so it just drinks.
It definitely changes the.
It definitely drinks with a. I mean, actually, that was one of the other cool things we did there. Is we actually did one of the like.
Dave, are they coming to you?
I don't you can hear them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, we did a pour flight, so they have like the Schneck, the Mielko, and the regular slow pour. So it's kind of like. It's 10% beer, 90% foam, kind of 50-50, and then like about 80% beer, 20% foam.
Right.
They're getting closer.
Yeah.
So, do you smell smoke? Please say no.
No, I don't smell smoke. Well, what they do is they're
see a cat. Do you see a cat in a tree?
Quick, turn on your TV and see if Cops is on and see if they'll go away.
It's actually fire trucks.
Right.
Okay.
So.
The firehouse is just up there.
Right.
But they're heading that direction, so I don't understand.
Odd. Yeah. But we talked about this on the show a while back. Did you have any of the foam? Did you do any of the foam shots while you were out there? Cohesion's doing foam shots.
Oh no, like I said, I did a whole pour flight.
Right.
So it was the same beer, just poured three different ways.
Right.
And it was really cool to see. Like it is quite different. The flavor does, and especially again, we're talking about 3.5% beer, but I mean, it's amazing how different the flavors were because as you had them like right back to back, you know what I mean. So there was no break in between. So you just ding, and it's interesting how the foam and the different acidity kind of does shift the flavor,
right? And on that note, like another beer that was crazy for me this year, and I'll wrap it up with my third, if you will, was Nomad from Treehouse. And I had a couple actually brought them back. Actually, I had one on the show in the can. I brought a 4-pack back, but actually had a pour of it at Treehouse on slow pour tap, and that head on that was so marshmallowy. It was so beautiful. I didn't, try to make some of that head last for most of the beer, and drink it with It was amazing. It was so good. It makes all the difference. It really does. It changes the beer's complexity and everything at it. It's so good. So, and
if I get an honorable mention, it would be Urban Chestnuts Oktoberfest, which to me was the best Oktoberfest I've had this year, and I had quite a few of them. One of the better, I shouldn't say best, but one of the better Oktoberfests that I've had this year that I hadn't had before. Actually, throwing back to Pittsburgh again was Dancing Gnome. Dancing Gnome's Oktoberfest was pretty spot on. It was pretty good. But there you go. I feel like I spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and I actually did this year. But
I think one of the best Oktoberfests I had this year that I hadn't had before was Paradoxes.
Yes, yeah, you did have that while you were up there.
Yeah, that was very good.
This guy's on the show. Hey, Gene's watching. He says, "Hey guys, what's up, Gene?"
Hey, Gene. Cheers, Gene.
Cheers, Gene. Cheers. And
I was going to say, I think I was in Pittsburgh for about 8 hours.
But we was there for a few days.
We did hit 4 breweries, though. We did hit 4 breweries. We picked up a car, got it registered, hit 4 breweries, and then blew out of town.
And it blew out of town. There you go. That works.
Productive.
Very productive 8 hours. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doug
we only got pulled over once.
Just once.
Only once.
He literally, we picked up the car at the guy's house. We were driving to get the registration, and we got pulled over.
Lovely. Yeah.
To be fair, it was a bright yellow Audi station wagon with like a giant V8 and 6-speed transmission and no plates.
No plates.
So yeah, it's kind of like,
yeah. Hey, look at me. Pull me over, please. Yeah.
Loud, ridiculously yellow car.
Sure.
Yeah, it used to be Arrest Me Red, but that changed to Arrest Me Yellow.
The only thing that was funnier than that was when we actually went to park it in Kansas to eat lunch, and we're like, literally, it's like old beat up pickup truck, like all the way down Main Street, bright yellow Audi fire breathing station wagon.
That's great.
Oh man, it was so funny.
Doug Smith just commented. He says, "Love hearing about your beer travels. How many new places / beer road trips do you guys do in a year?" And then he said, "I'm with you on Czech beers. Went to Prague in 2016. One of the best beer trips I ever took. Awesome."
Well, it depends on how you define a beer road trip. Is it just hitting a few breweries in the local area? Is it actually traveling somewhere?
It's both, right?
Outside of state, it's both.
It's both, definitely. I mean, you could travel in one day as well as you could travel in 5. I mean,
yeah. So because this year I probably did. Let's see. There was the Maine trip.
Mm-hmm.
There was Boston.
Sure.
There was the Adirondacks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go up there just for the beer, of course. We did South Jersey, kind of.
Yeah, you went down to Cape May. You did all of that.
Yep.
Right? Yep.
Did that. So that's 4 right there that I can actually think of off the top of my head. But there's other smaller trips that are just day trips.
Sure. Oh yeah. There's a ton. I mean, we went to we went to Maine as well.
Yep.
And you talk about that right there. And in Maine, look, I mean, had threw the picture up on the show before, but look who I ran into at Allagash. I mean.
That jackass!
That jackass right there. That was after a late night at Navarre Res too the night before, and I think about 4 breweries after that.
A very disappointing night at Navarre Res because they were out of everything that I ordered.
Yeah, I had your reach though. I couldn't have been that disappointed. So
I mean, my only confusion is that you're actually inferring that there's a way to have an early night at Navarre Res.
No, this is true.
Which I just don't believe.
It actually was an early night for us because we knew what was in store for us the next day.
Right. We met. This picture was taken. This was before noon, and we were already there an hour when we took this picture. So
we had the night before we started a Liquid Riot.
Mm-hmm.
We met at Liquid Riot.
Met at Liquid Riot. Went to Navarre Res. Yeah.
Navarre Res.
I mean, like I said, I had your reach. Anytime I can have a stick of alt, I'm not in a bad mood. So,
but the first 3 beers,
unfortunately, I ordered mine, and then Dave ordered his, and then they brought mine out, which was the last one.
Yeah.
So, Dave had a little of mine. That was right. So.
The first 3 beers I outside that beer, they were out of.
Oh, that's right. You told me this.
Yeah.
And the shame of it is it's my first time at Navarre Res, and they were still suffering from the COVID. We can't get anything.
Yeah, that was big. I mean, they still had the great menu there, but there was a lot of stuff. All the Oxbows they had though, because my Oxbow's right there, so they get.
But we were going to Oxbow then. We went actually. Karen and I wound up at Oxbow that night.
And Jess and I were at Oxbow the day before, earlier that day, actually.
Did we go to Oxbow that night? Yeah, I think we went.
No, you went there the next day. You went to Oxbow the next day.
Oh, that's right. We went there for lunch. We got.
Generally, they have different stuff than it actually is.
They have a lot of stuff that the blendery does not have because it's older stuff. They've gone through it already at the blendery and don't have any more of it. So
I can say this, that trips are not, according to Untapped, I drank beer from 371 different breweries this year.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily at the brewery.
No, but that's over 1,165 check-ins for this year. So
nice.
So I average drinking 3 beers a day, babe.
You alcoholic.
A little more, almost 3.5.
I'm over 600, but I definitely did not check in a bunch. So there was a lot that I hadn't checked in. I had beer from. Where is it?
Now you got me pulling mine up.
Yeah, you got to pull yours up. You got to pull it up.
Because I have not looked at this yet.
I did.
How many different breweries did you have beer from?
371.
371 different breweries. I checked into 70 total venues, different venues in this year. So
I checked in 921 beers.
There you go.
My first check in 2021 was Flummox. I only had 519 the year prior, so that was
nice.
I had a little bit of an uptick.
There you
So
go.
here's my top 5 breweries are Cane, Melavino, Source, Carton, and then Launchpad Brewing in Denver.
Oh, God. Speaking of Carton, I'm not a friggin' fanboy at all. My top 4 beers were Carton Epitome,
right?
The World's Turned Upside Down,
right?
And Monkey Chase the Weasel.
DDH Epitome?
DDH.
Epitome?
Yeah, there's no point.
This year,
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then
the best version of Epitome I've ever had.
it's fantastic. And then the last one on that list was Nyack from Trillium, which was absolutely fantastic.
There you go. My top 5 breweries this year, I'll go in reverse order, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 5 was actually Dorchester Brewing in Boston. Number 4 was Source. Number 3 was Carton. Number 2 was Cane. And I'll give both of you a guess at what number 1 was.
Night Shift.
Just look at my cap.
Yeah. well, I'm matching.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got the Night Shift. I almost put my Night Shift shirt on. So breweries, I drank from 286 different breweries. My top 5 in reverse order were Finback, Grimm, Treehouse, Source, and Carton.
There you go.
213 different venues.
All of our list. That's interesting.
How many different breweries, Dave?
Only 286.
286. And what was your brewery count, Matt? I forgot.
He was over 1,000. What was it?
371.
371.
So I wasn't too far behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. And I got my number 1 venue that I checked into this year. Neither of you'll guess it. J&J's Outpost. Have you guys been there?
It's funny because my number 1 was Fredo Cuden,
Yeah.
which means House of the Ferret, which is where I'm sitting. Actually,
where you're sitting at, right? Yeah.
Prior to that, it was Beer Samurai's Bunai, which was the my location in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, right?
My number 3, so my first legitimate location is actually Cloverleaf.
There you go. There you go.
I just expect you'd call it the Izakaya or something.
No, the Izakaya was my place in Morris Plains.
Mm.
So when I first started doing this in Lincoln Park, it was the dojo because there's a bunch of people I was teaching at the time.
Right.
And then when I moved to Morris Plains, it became the Izakaya because I had a better kitchen. I could cook more. So anybody who doesn't know, and Matt obviously does, an Izakaya is basically a Japanese tavern. There's food and alcohol involved.
Yep.
And Bunai, so the Beer Samurai's Bunai up in Rhode Island, Bunai. Bunai means outpost.
Right.
Because I knew I wasn't going to be in that location all that long. I didn't realize I'd be coming back from Rhode Island so soon. I just knew I wasn't going to be in that apartment for so long.
So it could be. So this could be J&J's Bunai, basically.
Because
J&J's Outpost. No,
yes,
we just call it Outpost. I'm saying not because we're not going to be here. We've been here 5 years already. So
yes,
I'll give you 3 guesses of what my number 2 location check-in was.
3 guesses.
Mm-hmm.
I know you drink at Beach House a lot.
No.
It has to be Source or Cane.
No. Cane was number 3, and Dorchester was number 4, actually. But what was number 2?
Well, it wasn't Night Shift. You don't get up there all the time.
I was up there twice this year, so yes, it was.
Oh, it was Night Shift. My number 4 was actually Carton.
There you go. Carton's my number 5.
I don't have a 5th. Why don't I have a 5th?
No, I'm sorry. Carton's 6, Sources. No, Carton's 5, Sources 6th.
It doesn't show me. Where do you get your top breweries from?
Well, my number 1 venue was Potenski Rules Home Brewery, which is my house.
Which
right
is
where you're sitting.
Right where you're sitting. So
surprise. Followed by Melavino, Launchpad, Cypress, and the Ale House here in Sayreville.
Oh, my 5th.
Where does J&J's Outpost fall on your list?
That I'd have to dig into that.
So my 5th location was actually 4 City Brewing because that's one of the closest breweries to me.
Right. Sure.
Well, when I lived in Kearney, it was Kearney. I wasn't in Kearney long enough to give that place a name.
There you go.
I should have given it
the no name Izakaya.
No, Beer Samurai's
living amongst
cesspool.
The water apartment.
Cesspool.
Yeah, swimming across my living room floor apartment. There you
go. How did it say toilet in Japanese?
Yes, exactly. That's what it should have been called. Because seriously, when the floods come through and everything dries up, and you're actually sweeping up toilet paper, That's
and
what
it wasn't yours.
It wasn't mine.
That's the other thing.
So it was time to go.
I just want to bring up, because I had it here and I put my phone down after that. Al Gattulo posted today a meme. It says, he says, "I don't understand people that brag." He didn't say this. Somebody else posted this, but he shared it. "I don't understand people that brag about drinking black coffee. Enjoy your hot bean water. I'm going to use creamer because I love myself." So Aaron Hordich, I don't know if anybody knows Aaron Hordich out there. Aaron says, "These monsters probably drink lagers because they like the taste of beer. They can enjoy their barley water. Keep drinking strawberry, banana, peanut butter sandwich, milkshake, sour cream, and onion potato chip IPA because you love yourself."
Well, oddly enough, I saved something.
It's pretty funny. So.
And I actually have it on my screen.
Go ahead.
The Germans created Imperial Chocolate Milkshake Fruit Smoothie Pastry Sour Stout on April 22nd, 1516. The following day, Germany passed the Reinheitsgebot, banning abominations.
Send that to me, please.
Oddly enough, I have it. It's just up on my screen.
Just send that to me. We got to put it up on the Facebook page and the website. Send it to me. I'll put it.
No, I will.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's go with. I mean, we were talking about some of the breweries.
Well, no, Matt has poured his second.
I was going to say, well,
not beer.
Not beer. He's drinking.
Doesn't count, but
he's going into a 14% mead now.
I didn't really have anything that was 14% at hand, except that I had pulled at least. Yeah. So I did have this. So this is Melvina's Nicest Pie. It's a sizer with vanilla and cinnamon in it.
You're going to say vinegar.
Sizer with vinegar?
Yeah, we don't need that. No, and we did just bottle this past week. We did just bottle Beautiful Disaster, which is a sizer aged for 24 months in a rye whiskey barrel, which is
nice,
stupidly good, might I add. So.
When are you working? I'll be up there to get it.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah,
you know what? I might be able to do that.
Yeah, and he's got some he did 3-bottle release right before Christmas, and we have 2 really sweet, desserty style meads. One with gumdrop grapes, and one with raspberry, cherry, boysenberry.
Very nice. Tony Forder says Mead.
Apparently, Tony's a fan of mead.
Yeah, Tony likes mead.
Or it's a misspelling, and he likes meat.
Well, there will be no mead in my list of strong beers later.
When we get there. Yeah, I came really close to 14 on my second beer. This one's 13.9%.
13. You can't get closer than that.
Yeah.
Well, you could 13.99.
Yeah, but
so 13.999. You can keep going. I mean, there's plenty of digits to add.
So I don't know. You were in Missouri, but not close. Did you go through Kansas City, Matt?
Yes, we did.
Did you stop at Boulevard?
Yes, we did.
There you go. Barrel aged Imperial Porter.
So the interesting thing about Boulevard was actually a really great brewery to go to because you're used to a lot of their beers, and you see Tank 7, and you see a bunch of their beers everywhere.
But that's not everything that they're about.
No, not by far.
When you go there, they have a lot of one-off things that are only there in the tasting room, and they were all sours, barrel-aged stuff, really cool beers, and they were all really good.
That's that Smokestack series that they had.
Yeah.
Smokestack series is very good.
That wheat wine that they had in that, I forget what they called it. They may have just called it wheat wine for that.
They had a cherry sour when we were there that was phenomenal, aged in oak, and then we had some kind of chocolate vanilla bourbon barrel aged stout.
Nice.
That was fantastic.
Nice.
So this thing is throwing off chocolate and licorice, and it's not the licorice from age. Just because you know how you can get a big stout after it ages a little bit, the oxidation throws as licorice,
right.
Whereas in lighter beers it throws pennies.
Mm-hmm.
But this has a licorice note to it, which you're want to get in an Imperial Porter.
Sure.
And the smell, the flavor, actually the licorice is enhanced in the taste. And nice. I hate licorice, but damn, it works in this beer.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that last week because our top 3 list.
It was one of my least favorite adjuncts.
Favorite adjuncts, right?
But it's not an adjunct in this. Yeah. This is, and you know what? This might be, the Hershey's Kiss interfering with it. This is a delicious guy.
Eat another Hershey's Kiss and see if it enhances it a little bit more.
No, I'm out of. Well, I can walk over there and get more Hershey's Kisses, but I'd have to, as Pink Floyd said, break down the wall behind me.
There you go. I'm going to hold off because I still have a little bit more. I'm drinking a little slower than you guys.
John had a rough night.
I did have a rough night last night.
He started drinking a bunch, and then someone talked him into drinking,
drinking
throwing down a few shots.
Yeah.
You're also a bit younger than us, so shut up.
Not much, a little bit.
In liver years, I'm probably about 4 years older than you.
Oh, I don't know, Matt.
That's close. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's closer. It's closer in liver years than it is in. So anyway, what's we got? So let's talk about the breweries. Breweries this year you've been to. Just I mean, it doesn't have to be. We don't have to do a list or anything like that. Just have a story. You go ahead. Go for your list then.
I do have a list. Yeah, I'll pull up the kind of, I guess, sticking with our top threes thing is
Sure.
I'm going to throw a bunch of honorable mentions out there, places that I went that I liked. Finally got to the new Paradox because I'd been at their original location years and years
in
years
Struan
ago.
Lake, right by the lake there.
Yeah, right off the lake, right off the right off
Struan
Route,
Lake.
what's that, Route 9.
Route 9, yeah.
But they're further up Route 9 now, going closer towards Lake Placid, and it's just a beautiful facility. Absolutely beautiful facility, fantastic view.
Sure, we had them on the show about a month and a half ago. Yeah,
we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I remember that. Right? Yeah,
I think you did. Did we?
Another brewery that's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's like I think it's like an old penal system complex.
An old what?
Penal, not penis. Penal.
Just making
penal,
sure.
Is penal the adjective version of penis? Who knows? But actually,
penile.
Penile.
Yeah.
So an old penile system complex. Drowned Lands. If you've not been to Drowned Lands, I mean, one, they put out some really good liquid, but it's a beautiful facility.
Right.
It really is. One that John will attest to as well. Bellflower.
Sure.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. That was the last one that we hit on Carrie's birthday. So I was so damn full.
Of course, it was 14 before that, so you were done.
Oh, I was so done by the time I got to Bellflower. So we managed to bring some home, and damn, it was some good stuff. The aforementioned Blaze Brewing. I've been to a couple of them. The one in Camden, Maine, and Camden, Maine is much more beautiful than New Jersey's Camden.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, a little different. It's a little
different.
Little seashore town.
Right.
Yeah. And
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And then the one.
Well, it's right on the banks of the water, so you can.
Yeah, it's just sort of, if you call that water at that point. And we also went when we went to Maine.
The Smellware River.
The Smellware River, right? Exactly.
When we went up to Maine this year, we went into Bar Harbor, and we hit Blaze there while we were waiting. We had to get something to eat and drink before. I think we did this after our lobster boat tour.
So you were speaking Boston and Bar Harbor?
Boston, yeah. And when we talked about the trip we took down to Cape May, that was my birthday weekend, and Gusto down in Cape May. They do some interesting stuff. And if you go in there and you're a nerd like the three of us are, your eyes will be moving all over the place because there's Star Wars stuff, there's Marvel stuff, there's Star Trek. They've got, they're just big nerds that collect everything and throw it around. But so that's the honorable mentions per se. So that same trip, we hit the Seed in Atlantic City.
Sure.
And they are doing,
I said I still haven't been. I got to make
you guys. I know Johnny hasn't gone either.
I haven't either.
You guys have to get there. They are doing some really interesting stuff down there.
I've had a bunch of their beer, which has all been pretty good. But I haven't.
Yeah.
The actual
they're right next to an axe throwing place.
Right. And they're the same. There's the same building as Little Water Distilling too.
Yes, and there's a distillery in there as well. So you got a distillery, a brewery, and let's throw some axes after drinking.
You go to both first, then axes. Yeah.
And I think the axe place is a BYOB, so just have a lot of fun.
Well, this is not BYOA.
So most of them are BYOB, but it's very specific beer or wine. No spirits are allowed.
No hard liquor.
Right.
Because people can't get drunk off beer or wine, apparently.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Only spirits.
If they looked at some of the beers, like especially some of the beers we're going to be mentioning on the show today,
right?
Yeah, you can. Another one was something that's been mentioned as well, and someone's wearing their hat, someone's wearing their shirt. This year, for the first time, I got up to night shift.
Nice.
And
I'm so happy you got there, but I can't believe that 2021 was the first time you got to night shift.
First time I been to night shift. I've been up to Boston so often, but you got to remember, I would sit. I lived in Pawtucket. and you've got the Guild of Pawtucket. The Guild does pour night shift.
Right.
They don't pour the real good stuff though.
Right.
That's up at the brewery, and the brewery does open up their cellar, and they will pour cellar beers. And we had some of those cellar beers. And
you had bean porter from them?
No, one of the ones I had. My favorite beer that I had while I was there was Holy Jane, which I think is a coffee stout. That thing was phenomenal.
Right.
Bennington was really good. Brought back a can for John because I didn't want to. I can't bear to see a grown cry.
Just their normal coffee stout, Awake, is fantastic.
Awake is
That's
a normal
coffee porter.
Coffee porter, yeah.
It's a porter.
Awake's
Actually,
porter. It's phenomenal. Awake is one of the best coffee porters I've ever had. It's so good.
So good.
Because you were doing this to us earlier, Matt.
Might as well get chocolate while you're over there.
Exactly.
But you mean this?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they weren't pouring it when we were there.
Feel free to pass that directly through the screen for me.
Exactly. Just send that over.
They
You know what would be really cool is if you put a can up and pulled it out, and that was hey, look at that.
There you go. Got to try that one day. But yeah, no, they weren't pouring it, so I said, oh my god, I gotta grab a 4-pack of that.
Right.
I still have 2 left.
Phenomenal.
But that night shift, my first time at night shift.
There you go.
And then what I think my favorite find this whole 2021 I mentioned earlier, Savaticus.
Brewer Savaticus, yeah.
Brewer
Still gotta get up there.
Savaticus. You got to.
We planned on taking a ride up there on that Saturday when we were up in Boston again in November, but we just the timing didn't work out. We couldn't get up there, so we didn't go. Well, next time we get up there, I'll definitely make it up.
We got to get up there.
To see Jay,
yeah. And we had them on the show.
And Jay was on the show too, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Matt, what are your breweries?
Well, so I did a couple quick trips this year. I did the big trip from Pittsburgh out to Denver.
Sure.
The very first night we're in Pittsburgh, we looked up breweries in the area. There was a brewery called Trace. My buddy never heard of it. I'd never heard of it. We show up. There's a reason we never heard of it because we literally were there the day they opened.
There you go.
So, yeah, it's weird. The day I flew into Pittsburgh, this was in this past March, so there was still a lot of COVID stuff going on. The day I flew in was the day the restrictions came off and you could actually serve people in the tasting rooms again. Like until that, it was just, it had been pick up to go. And even half the breweries there were still pick up to, like Grist House wasn't even open.
Right. And when I was there in June,
what is it? Church Brew Works?
Church Brew Works, right. Yeah.
And literally, I was like, sweet, this is going to be cool. We go in, they had 1 beer on tap.
Oh.
Because they had packaged everything because everything had been to go. So, they had 8 beers, but there was only 1 beer on tap. Everything else was literally
can pours.
So, they just put a can and dropped it on your table. And
what I've heard about Church is that the food's fantastic.
The food was very good. Yeah. The beer was all right. The ambiance is it's just a cool place.
It's really cool. Yeah. It's
well,
really cool.
what we used that line for on the show. The food was really good.
The food was really good. Yeah.
Good enough.
Like you said, the beer was all right.
Yeah. But
there was nothing particularly bad.
Cool.
There was nothing. Yeah, it was the food. The beer was all right, but the food was very good. Food was very good.
This little cool place. We hung out. They had all these little wood burning stoves with these little fires and all these.
We're back to Trace now, right?
What's up? We're back to Trace.
Yeah.
But then the coolest part is we're talking to one of the people and they're like, oh, our owner's here if you want to talk to them, and we're like, yeah, sure. So this lady comes over and she's telling, and I'm like, I brew, and then my buddy was he works for Malt Europe, so they supply malt to all these breweries, and they're like, we're just hanging out, and we didn't even know this was the first night you were open. We were just looking for breweries in the area, and we're passing through the area. And she's like, that's awesome. And so the coolest part though is she took us out of the brewery and then around the corner and into this other thing, and they have a cool ship room. Very cool. And it was friggin' it's like this big silver cool ship, and it has the room looks like a sauna. It's all bright woodwork, like ash or something around.
Really?
Yeah. And it's got this crazy chandelier. It was like the most beautiful room that's supposed to be functional I've ever seen in my life. So what they apparently do is they have a tabletop they put on the cool ship and use it as a meeting space. People can rent the room out, and they they have like it's like a big table and everyone can drink in there. So that's why they have the crazy chandelier. But it's like literally like architecturally, like you took a picture, like that room was just beautiful.
The only time that I've seen a chandelier in a brewery was Bearded Iris, and it's there ironically.
No, this was like metal. Like it wasn't like a crazy like crystal chandelier. It was like kind of weird, like designed metal with lights in it, and it was just. I'll show you a picture of it next time we hang out.
Lights in it is kind of a given for a chandelier.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome though. It was just. I'm just walked in. I'm like, this is honestly one of the most beautiful spaces I've ever seen.
Pretty wild, yeah.
So that was cool. That whole trip was great. I know. Then I went to I was in Colorado for like almost 2 weeks in August. So I drove from Denver about 6 hours, all the way out to Ouray, and then I went to Telluride, and some of the breweries over there are just you're sitting there drinking a beer, looking out on all the crazy mountains. I mean,
it doesn't matter how good the beer is.
It's like the beer. No, but I mean, you know what the best thing was though? Everyone over there had a Kolsch. And it's like it's just one of those things when you're sitting there staring at snow-capped mountains and you're having a Kolsch and you're just like, yeah, everything is right about this right now. Like, and they were all pretty good Kolsch's. I'm not gonna lie. So that was cool. And
why would you lie about that?
Yeah,
right.
I don't know
Exactly.
And then actually, so I did finally get a new brewery hat this year.
Yeah.
This is
there's
Elevation,
one of those hats that you love.
This is Elevation Beer Co. Go higher. This was on the multi-hour drive back from Ouray to Colorado Springs, where I was going to drop my brother off. Like about halfway through the ride was Elevation, and I'm just like, I want to get out of the car, stretch my legs, take a whiz. I'm like, I might as well stop somewhere and have some beers.
Might as well.
Refill.
And basically, I went to Elevation. Now I've had 1 or 2 barrel-aged beers from them that I thought were really good. They make awesome beer.
Yeah,
and it was cool. It was out in the middle of effing nowhere. You walk in, it's very industrial. They have like these kind of like almost like old motorcycle seats, like as the bar seats. Very cool, just like a very cool vibe. And there was like 2 other people in the whole place, and like the beers were just awesome. And like we were trying to like have a few beers and hit the road again, and we ended up spending like almost 2 hours there. So
that's awesome.
It was just one of those. It was like. They had a vanilla bourbon barrel aged stout. They had a bourbon barrel aged quad. They had some really delicious stuff there. So.
Did we just have one of the? You brought a can back that we had. Not too long ago.
So that was the oil man. That was the
oil man. Yeah.
We've mentioned this on the show a few times when you talk about best breweries, favorite breweries. It's a combination of not just the beer but also
the space,
the core, the hang, the space.
Sure, absolutely.
The whole atmosphere of the brewery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, we'll just start off. I mean, we did a lot of day trips this year. We took 3 trips or whatever. Went to Pittsburgh, Grist House, definitely one of my favorite breweries out in Pittsburgh. You talked about before when you were out there in March, they were just starting to lift regulations or whatever and or restrictions, I should say, and open back up for serving and stuff like that. When we were there in July, Brew Gentlemen. They had not opened their tasting room still. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they just opened their tasting room not too long ago, either this month or last month. Just opened it back up again. But they did have to go, so we were able to pick up some stuff in July. And they also had their space in the park along the Allegheny across the bridge from PNC Park.
Not the Monongahela?
Not the Monongahela. The Monongahela is on the south side of the point. Allegheny's on the top.
I just like saying Monongahela.
There you go.
I mean, Dancing Gnome wasn't even open.
Dancing Gnome.
We showed up. They're like, you can buy. Like, we bought 2 cases of beer and like put it in our car and left.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't. He brought them Malt Europe hats, and then they ended up giving us a bunch of glassware and cool shit like that. So
that's cool.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We were there. Dancing Gnome was open when we were there in July. So Dancing Gnome's another great space. I love the beer there. Old Thunder, amazing brewery. Really good beer. And
Old Thunder,
yeah. And we had we talked about the cart outside the barbecue.
Right.
Cart. Yeah, the Bluefish Barbecue.
Yep.
And the
Hootie, the owner.
pitmaster is Hootie. Yeah, exactly. So talked about him. But in any event, a lot of good things out in Pittsburgh. Up in Maine, of course. I mean, Allagash is just crazy. But Bellflower, they're making amazing beers out there. We had them on the show back in September. Whatchamacallit, Bunker.
Tried to get them on the show, but can't get a reply from them.
They're really busy. They're
very busy. We
that's
the one thing you didn't get north enough to get to Odd Ale Wives.
Did not get the Odd Ale Wives. No, did not get the Odd Ale Wives. No.
So Matt, they make this one beer. It's not it's not really a Schwartz beer. It's not a brown. Mm-hmm. But what they do is they make it with the same herbs that Moxie is made with.
Okay.
Which is Whorehound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Whorehound beer. And my God, this is such a good beer. And
I thought that was your nickname in high school.
So many jokes there. Anyway,
silence there, right?
We're gonna let that one pass. And the thing is, we brought some of it back. I was going to save one for John, and then we had one left. I was like, "Fuck John, I'm drinking this one." It's such a good beer. But next time you get up to Maine, you got to check.
We're gonna go more north there. Yeah. So. And then Mass Landing too. I want to mention Mass Landing. I mean, the beer is always
are you going to bring up
so good. But the BLT, holy shit! How damn good was that BLT? I'm telling Matt. I was telling Dave about this. We were sitting over at Allagash. They were going there. We were heading to Boston, or Barrel Souls first, then Boston
on the 14th.
And then, but I says, and he was going over there. I says, you got to get the BLT, and he got the BLT. He takes a bite. Puts the sandwich down, picks up his phone, texts me. You weren't lying about this BLT.
Well, the funny thing is, like the next couple of places that we would go after that, John's like, you got to get the BLT, and now Carrie thinks that all John eats are BLTs, which isn't all that far from the truth. I don't see any problem.
Too far off, yeah,
I
exactly.
don't see any problem with that.
Anyway, but no, it was so good. But
the BLT podcast is another night, though.
That's Thursday. Thursday. But
so, what is your feeling between
Applewood smoked bacon,
Applewood, and mesquite smoked bacon?
Yeah. But in any event, what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah, then down in Boston. I mean, I can't talk about Boston without Night Shift, obviously.
Of course.
And and Dorchester's a great space too. But
so when I went to Night Shift, I just took a picture of the sign of the peanut factory, peanut butter factory across the street, and just sent it to him. It's like, you son of a bitch, you're at Night Shift.
Santilli Highway. So anyway, just so many good breweries, and then even some local stuff. I mean, we just took a day trip a couple weeks ago out to Old Heights and had a couple beers. There you go.
Right I know those guys.
Those two guys. Yeah.
I'm sure that the hat on the left has been burned.
It's in the bottom of the closet underneath the box. I stepped on it a few times. And about 5 minutes after this picture was taken, all those lights were off.
The
power went out. They were working on a power line around the corner. They had been working on about a half an hour, and then all of a sudden, power went out. Boom. So we were walking around with Alex, who was on the show, obviously from Old Heights, Alex Constantino.
Which instrument did he play? He's the
he's the brewer or whatever.
He's a brewer, but he's also
Brian. I think he does play something, yeah. Matt and I and Alex were down by the brew house walking around or whatever.
We were given the deluxe flashlight tour. I'm not kidding. Like, it was he's literally like shining a flashlight to show us shit. It was great.
It was great. Good thing it was during the day, so at least there was a little ambient light coming in the place. But
but like we went into like you went to show us where the grain mill was, and you're going in basically a closet. So he's like shining a flashlight, showing us like what the hell's going on.
It was great. So and as soon as we were done, lights came back on. So perfect.
So, just in time to pay.
In time to pay. I'm going to open up my second beer since I haven't yet.
You're a little
right
behind.
there.
I know that logo.
You know this logo? Do you?
I've seen that logo.
There you go. Vanilla Bean Catharsis right there.
Oh.
Isn't that a medical procedure?
What's the base style?
It's a porter.
Okay.
It's a 7.6% Imperial Porter with...
Oh, my Imperial Porter kicks the crap out of your Imperial Porter as far as ABV, but...
Yeah.
Flavor-wise, I think I prefer the vanilla to the licorice notes I'm getting out of this.
There you go. Yeah, well, they make Catharsis, and then they make Vanilla Bean Catharsis.
So your two beers put together ABV wise, still don't hit this.
Still don't hit that. No, they do not. You're absolutely
this
right.
thing is going to. It's going to help me
I've
sleep.
had 2 beers higher ABV than Dave. So.
You're absolutely right. My
well, one was a mead.
This is true. And I'm actually drinking in a cane glass.
I'm almost ready for my third. So
I'm actually drinking out of a Civil Society glass that my brother gave
I was
me.
about to say, actually, speaking of year-end recap, I did go down to South Florida this year. I was diving on West Palm, and it's the first time I've been to Civil Society.
They make some good stuff there.
They definitely had some damn good beer. I didn't have a very long time to be there, but I knocked a few back in a fairly short time.
You should have told me that. I didn't know that you were going, because my brother knows the owners.
Yeah.
And everyone there. Actually, one time at Hunapoo, my brother used to live in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So he would be at
so reminded me like you were going to say this one time at band camp.
Yeah,
one time at Hunapoo.
One time at Hunapoo.
Oh
Oh my God, some of those stories are a lot wilder than taking a flute. And anyway,
never mind. Anyway,
you have a sixtel in your.
I don't even want to know what you did. Just leave it at that.
We're going to leave it at that. But so my brother used to live in Jacksonville, and he would be at Ardwolf Brewing all the time. And Previn, the owner of Ardwolf, got to get Previn on the show. Got to reach out to Previn. But my brother was always there, and Previn was always, when you're at your own brewery, you're more of the businessman.
Yeah.
You're reserved. I met him at Hunapoo. He was drunk off his ass.
Sure.
So there's pictures of Previn and I that I'm sending to my brother, and we're having a great time. He's like, okay, I know Previn. That's not Previn.
That's
like,
not Previn. Right?
I said, no. You know businessman Previn. I know fun Previn. Because he's not in his brewery. He's not responsible. He's having a great old time. But then we came across the owner of Civil Society, and I can't remember his name. And the two of them started arguing over who owned my brother. Because Previn's like, well, he started with us. And Civil Society's like, he's with us now.
For any of you out there that didn't make the connection, the other guest on our show last week was, in fact, Dave's brother, Brian. So. Anyway.
That'd be the one we're talking about when we're at Nobo. So every time that our true guest actually had to do his job while we were there, we were talking to the bartender, and it's a Monday, so he's like, it's gonna be quiet. We should be fine.
Was not.
It was not a quiet Monday whatsoever, because it was the Monday before Christmas, and everybody was home, and that is pouring so damn dark. What the hell are you drinking?
Motor oil.
So. I had to go a lot lighter than the 14, so this is a 13%.
So it's only a 13, okay.
It's definitely a lot lighter. Sure.
13% rum barrel aged imperial stout with cherries and coconut from Martin House Brewing called Columbiana. Now, the only thing I thought was weird was
do you have any of those left?
I have another can of this. Yes, they come in They come in a box 2-can set.
There you go.
I will save one.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to try that. That's how.
But
you just hit a few of my favorite adjuncts.
The only thing I got weirded out is it's called Columbiana, but there's no coffee in it.
Really?
I think
it's cherry coconut rum barrel aged stout.
What has happened to her shirt?
It's there. It's just in shadow. It's like
but the back of it's all torn to shreds.
No, I think it's just like a tube top.
It's a tube top kind of thing.
It looks like some apocalyptic kind of something.
Yeah, no, there's something going on there.
I mean, I've been to Colombia.
Does it look like that?
It looks better.
It looks better.
To the credit, it's an American brewery that spelled Columbia right.
There you go.
Well, it's Colombiana, which basically means a woman from Colombia. But
there you go.
Yeah.
And of course you had that, and it's from Martin House,
which
is down in Fort Worth. Go ahead.
I don't know where is Martin House? No,
Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, Fort Worth.
They've been mentioned a few times on the show. Anytime we have Tony Drury on,
and
so it's an Imperial Stout
and Rick Alley.
Cherry puree.
Yeah, Rick mentioned it as well.
With 5 months in a rum barrel.
That sounds awful.
Very nice. That sounds like a beer that the three of us need to share.
Oh,
yeah,
it smells like.
I have another can of this. We'll bring that out the same night. How's that?
And you know what? I can save a can of this for you guys.
There you go. All right. Those are the 3 cans we'll share that night.
Yeah. 3, because that's all we'll drink that night.
Amongst others.
Those are the 3 cans we will start with that night.
Yes.
So, all right. I'm going to throw this out there. Top bars we visited this year.
Top bars?
Why not?
No, geez.
Throw it out there.
I'm not prepared for that.
Well, neither was I, so I'm going to throw it out there. And there's a reason I'm bringing it up. I'm just going to throw out Cloverleaf, obviously. The 3 of us were there together. That's an obvious, That
was the first time that we did a live show where John and I were in the same place.
Right.
And not only were we in the same place, but our producers were in the same place.
I was there, Brian.
Is he still our number one guest or our number two guest now?
Who's that? The gentleman whose name we can't mention?
Yes.
Mr. Carton?
Mr. Carton.
Mr. Carton. We could say that, right. Mr. Carton is our number 3 guest right now.
He's number 3.
Yes. Tom Mulvihill
is number 1.
Is number 2.
Oh, well, Matt Potenski.
You are looking at the number 1 guest right there.
He's not a guest. He's a producer.
Put on the championship belt.
He does not count as a guest. He's a producer.
Yeah.
So Tom's number 1. AC's number 2.
Right. There you go. And on from there. Yeah. And I guess anybody that's been on twice because if we're not including Matt or Brian, it would be
anybody else on twice?
It would be Tony. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony's the only other person.
Tony's the only one who's been twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, I have the list right here. I might as well. I can pull it up and be exact if you really.
Don't get bored.
No.
I will say this for this beer.
Yeah.
What's
They
it?
put 0 suck in it.
They put 0 suck in that beer.
And you know what?
I love it when they put 0 suck in
That's
beer.
the one thing we miss on my least favorite adjuncts. Suck.
There you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
go.
I remember Cypress made one beer one time, and they literally put on it like now with 0 suck.
Now with 0 suck, right?
Because it had
They had one batch of it that I guess didn't come out that great, and people like complained, so they did it again. I'm like, at least they had a good humor about it.
Right.
This time,
I love it. I love it when breweries can make fun of themselves. Like no brewery makes more fun of themselves than Bolero Snort. I don't know if they make more fun of themselves or we make more fun of them.
Tony Drury would be number 3 if that's where you want to go.
I mean, they do have a beer called Crooked Labels, which is hilarious.
Crooked Labels, and that's
Crooked Labels, yeah.
And then they had the Whoops No Lactose.
Oops, no lactose, yeah. It was the lactose-less Fruity Pebbles, right?
Yes.
Right.
Fruity Pebbles.
Pebbles, yeah.
Well, it was also Labels.
So.
Labels.
Yeah.
You've got to get all those bovine puns out there.
Exactly.
So I still tell Scott he dropped the ball big time because he didn't make a Bovid-19.
He should have.
Oh,
he should
they
have.
Didn't?
No.
I was shocked that there wasn't. I said this before. I was shocked that there wasn't a rapper that came out last year named Covey D.
And you know what? They still have the opportunity because we're still kind of in the pandemic. They can do it, and they can do variants on it with the different different Greek letters.
Boosters.
Boosters. Yeah.
They could call them moosters.
Boosters.
Your mooster shot.
Yeah.
So I mentioned bars. Obviously, we talked about Cloverleaf.
Oh yeah.
I'll throw out their Navari Res. Obviously, Dave and I were both there, as well as some others. But
I didn't have the best experience there. I need to go back and have the fantastic experience that people have had. I went at the wrong time.
Yeah, you got to go back. But I will. The reason I brought this up is because I want Matt to bring up his the bar he visited on his trip out to Denver from Pittsburgh.
Which one? The one
brewery bar that was food. That experience you had on the way out with the. It was in the middle of Kansas.
Yes, the one in the middle of Kansas. So that was technically a brewery. Now I alluded to this before because we basically when you leave
corn beers with their corn.
No, when you leave Kansas City, we were going to go from Kansas City to Denver in the same day because you're basically you just have to go across Kansas.
It's 8 hours. It's like
there's really nothing in Kansas,
and there's nothing to see except corn.
I found this one brewery that was like right off of the highway, and we're like, all right. And I did the math out. I'm like, look, we'll be there around like lunchtime. Like it makes sense. We'll stop there for lunch, and I think it was called Full Circle Brewing or something, whatever it was. So again, we pull off the highway to 15 miles per hour road, putting along. Every single car that goes by us is a giant pickup. Like we parked.
Let's say it again. You were in a bright yellow.
You were in a bright yellow Audi station wagon. Yeah, and 2 men getting out of it together. You know, so they're already looking at us like, "What the hell?" You know. and like so we go in and. Like the front door's open, but we go and there's nobody there. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, hello? So a person comes running out and they're like, hey, we're like, are you open? They're like, yeah, they're like, grab a seat wherever. And it was like, literally like, you know, like the old Knights of Columbus, like, you know, I don't know, auditorium chairs, terrible chairs on these little
the wooden ones, like those type of things.
Awful, you know, and there's these little tables, they're like old Formica. And
it's not for Micah, it's for me.
Yeah, and whatever, and like so, so then she gives us the menu, and so they have a couple beers of their own, and then they have a bunch of guest taps,
Right.
And so for a flight of 8 beers is $6, and we're just like, really? Well, hell yeah, like we're definitely doing this. So I pick my 8, whatever 6, and she whatever it is. Yeah, I pick up my 8, my buddy picks his 8. Well, so like 15, 20 minutes go by, like we haven't gotten any beer. She comes up and she's like, we're out of this beer. And I'm like, okay, how about this instead? She's like, okay. 10 more minutes go by. She comes back. And meanwhile, now, like, you have to understand, this is probably the restaurant in town. So, like, the whole town is starting to show up. And, like, we're the only ones who aren't wearing, like, overalls without a shirt, which is, like, amazing in some ways. And she comes back, like, again, and she's like, oh, and this is out, and this is out, and this and out. And we're like, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I've sat here for 35 minutes. I don't give a fuck. Just, like, pour anything. Just give me a glass. And so finally, like 45 minutes, we finally get the beer, right? So this is how the beer arrives. It's a Kansas license plate that was cut with snips, and like the edges are folded up, so it forms a little tray. And there's 8 glasses. No 2 of the 8 glasses match each other. And I was literally looking at this thing. I'm like, this is fantastic. Like, this is amazing.
You can't beat that shit.
Yeah. And the one dude who works there ran over and like, tells us some really off-color joke. And like, you could tell like he looked at us like, new people who haven't heard my 3 jokes. Like, yeah. And he like runs over and you're like, oh boy. And the good news is that I got a fried chicken sandwich and it was like amazingly good. And my buddy got
because they killed it like while she was stalling.
And my buddy got chicken. Well, it's funny because we were in the front. I went to take a piss and go to the bathroom. I had to walk in the back. The whole back of it's like this giant open room. Like it's basically a honky tonk is what it is.
It wasn't an outhouse.
No. They had an actual bathroom, but it was because they literally had a giant room in the back that was like the honky tonk with a stage.
That's
nice.
Great.
So it was like, I'm like, I wish I was around on a Friday night just to see this place be friggin' hopping. I can't imagine. Great. We were just there for lunch, but yeah, it was a good time though. It's a That's cool awesome. Little place.
Here, new people that haven't heard my 3 jokes yet.
Yeah. Like you could tell, he's like, new people, came right for us. So of course, on my way out, I told him an off-color joke of my own. And then I was like, that's the gift that keeps giving, because now
he's got a 4th
joke to literally tell everyone in that town.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
If I ever make it back to that town, someone in that town will tell me my own joke.
Will tell you your own joke. Absolutely.
More likely, because there's only about 35 people there.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I got one for you. A priest, an atheist, and a rabbit. A priest, an atheist, and a rabbit walk into a bar. And the rabbit says, "Guys, I'm pretty sure I'm a typo."
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
So there you go. But I'm pumped.
Oh, jeez.
362 days left till Christmas, and people already have their lights up. I can't say that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Anyway.
You got any more?
All right, those are my 2. That's it. That's
it.
Two a night. Two dad jokes a night. That's it. I'm good. But anyway, I just had to hear that story again. That's a great story. Best was no 2 glasses in the 8 beer flight.
That's a thing of beauty right there.
Beauty.
Yeah.
You have to work at that.
Yeah.
There are matching glasses. They have to make sure that they give you because there's 8 different bins, right? Take one. Take it from different ones.
Well, no, because I had 8 glasses and my buddy had 8 glasses, and I think out of the entire 16 glasses, we might have had 1 pair.
That's great.
It was just every glass was completely different. You were just like, this is amazing.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, because that's what I love about. So you mentioned on your drive, barbecue joints was on the list.
Mm.
So I have a list of what constitutes a great barbecue joint. And some of those things are, there must be some cartoon depiction of a pig.
Must be?
Somewhere.
Okay.
2, there better be pickup trucks parked outside.
Okay.
3, there better be a plume of smoke coming from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
4, you must be drinking out of dark red plastic glasses. Right?
Okay.
5, none of the tables or chairs should match.
Fair enough.
The tablecloths should be plastic.
Right.
You went to a place with tablecloths?
Really?
If there are,
You talking about, what was this, like, white glove service here you got?
No, they like roll out the brown paper and like just slap it down.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The most paved the parking lot can be is loose gravel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Those are the things that constitute a great barbecue joint.
There you go.
Before you even walk in, it must meet those criteria.
If a barbecue place, and even if it's a truck, has awesome brisket, I'm in.
Well, brisket to me is what I judge barbecue joints by, because brisket is one of the hardest things to get right.
Sure.
You need to have that pink ring.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be able. You need to grab it and be able to pull it apart and it separate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I went to a place. I actually got great brisket someplace in Massachusetts once, just across the border from Rhode Island, and I couldn't believe it. And I ordered the brisket. They said, "Well, do you want that lean or fatty?" I'm like, "How's that a question?" Lean brisket? No.
Watch the slim girlish figure. Even though I'm here at the barbecue.
Seriously, look at this body. Do I want
it was a really thick piece of brisket. They had part that was lean and then the part that was fatty. So,
but they also the collards there. So I ordered with reservations ordered the collards because I'm in Massachusetts.
You had to make reservations to order collards?
Yeah, you had to make reservations. Actually, during COVID, you had to. But so I got this is before COVID, but I got the collards. I took one bite of it, and I went, "Where is your chef from?" They went, "Well, Worcester." What? Seriously, your chef is from Worcester, and he can make collards this goddamn righteous. There's something wrong here. I really think he's channeling a past life.
Well, he lives in Worcester, but he's originally from Memphis. So.
No, he was born and raised in Worcester, and I couldn't believe it.
That's pretty funny.
I've opened my third beer. And
I didn't know you were drinking a third beer.
I am drinking a third beer.
All right,
I've actually jumped up to jumped down from the 13.9 to an 11.7.
There you go.
And I'm drinking Sif.
There you
go.
Oh man,
Zig.
There you go.
Zig does some great stuff, and it's funny because I looked at when we were putting together our top, our top three, and 14% are over, and Matt's been on the show. I'm like, Zigmeister must have some 14s or over.
Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. He has the big stout festival every year.
Sure.
Nothing 14 or over.
No, they're all 10s and 11s.
14 is
that's a special stratosphere.
It's really big. Well, you know what? That's kind of why we went with it, right? Because I mean, if we made it 10s or 12s or something like that, it'd be a lot easier because we've had a bunch of those. 14s really limits where we got to look at.
If you'd gone 13 or over, it would have been a lot easier.
Sure, absolutely.
I've had a bunch of those, but
hit 14, it makes it a lot harder to make these lists.
So I went through to put my list together. I went through a lot of the usual suspects.
This is a segue, folks. Pay attention.
This is a segue. I went through a lot of the usual suspects to see if I'd had anything 14 or over, and I was surprised at how few beers out there. Founders has very few 14 or over. Avery, of course,
CBS isn't 14. None of them. KBS, CBS, none of them are 14.
BCBS is over though.
BCBS is
Some are.
Some are. Some are.
Some are.
Some of the variants are not.
14 like 5 and 13.3 usually batches the same.
Of course, Avery's got
in certain states you can't sell. That's why there aren't a lot of 14% or over beers. Because there's a lot of states where you cannot sell it.
Yeah, you're not going to find a 14 or over in Utah.
Yeah.
But looking into some of the others, Deschutes has a very, very few that are 14.
Mm-hmm.
I think they may have like 2. Firestone Walker has maybe 3 base beers that are 14.
Yeah, I mean, you always have the brewery to rely on.
Well, the brewery, yeah,
Dogfish,
the brewery, Dogfish Head. Even Lost Abbey doesn't have a ton. Brooklyn's got a few.
Yeah,
Brooklyn's got a few.
Yep, they do.
But Treehouse has nothing.
And obviously Avery, which we've discussed before.
We know Avery's got a bunch up there. I was surprised to find that AleSmith had nothing at 14.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they would.
Well, you think about a lot of the premier stout makers or barrel aged stout makers, and you think Cycle, Angry Chair, all these guys. They don't make beer.
No, they don't. And the thing is, it's funny because I looked into those as well. Cycle and Angry Chair. They're stumble.
They make they make big beers. They're all. I mean,
11
to 12, and maybe
12.
13 will hit. They're not 14 and up. No.
And some of the biggest beers that Cycle makes, they're listed as 0% alcohol because they won't put out there what the ABV is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Even I feel like that has to be illegal in some ways.
It is illegal. You can't. I don't understand how they can do that because
well, I'm sure
you have to list if you're getting a label passed by the.
It's only on Untapped. It's only on Untapped that it's saying 0%. When I did the research,
well, it's got to be on the label, right? So I mean, why would people?
They don't publish
it in there or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. There's something going on there, and I could not find one beer out of Maine that approached 14%. So that might be a state law.
Maybe.
So it was really, really hard to put the list together.
Oh, there you go.
As a matter of fact, in 2021, I only had 3 beers.
There you go.
That were 14 or over. I
had a few.
Well, and I mean, for instance, one of my favorite big beer styles is a quad.
Right.
I had that's over 14%.
Right.
I've had Van de Kaiser, which is like 13.7.
Van de Kaiser is my favorite quad, and it's not at 14. Yeah,
and it's probably one of the biggest quads that are out there ABV wise, because quads run they vary between 10 and
10 to 12 is pretty standard.
Common, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even your barley wines, you're not getting too high up there with most barley wines. Yes, you're going to find barley wines that go over 14 and those because they really tried to push it.
I hope that some breweries open up next year that kind of make a couple of these styles that actually hit the 14%
and really want to push the limits on it.
Push the limits a little bit. It'd be nice. It'd be nice
I'm
to
sure,
change pace.
Well, next year, from what I understand, New Jersey should be opening some really good breweries next year.
I hear that. I do hear that.
I've heard that. We'll see. We'll see. We need to. Let's put it this way: New Jersey's craft breweries over the past 3 years have really started to advance.
Sure.
New Jersey is becoming more of a craft beer destination with some of the breweries that we have here.
Mm-hmm. Now we'll have brewery trails.
Brewery
trails now.
Yep.
I think what we need to do is we need to put together a New Jersey brew bus. Get that business out there.
Do that, yeah.
But we, 2022, I'm expecting some good things out of New Jersey for 2022, because now we're coming out of COVID. We've got a really ripe atmosphere, ripe environment for breweries to open and be successful, because a lot of the laws have relaxed.
Yeah, they have.
And hopefully they will stay that way. And hopefully the state has understood, and the state ABC has understood that, everybody wins, because they didn't see an uptick in drunken driving.
Yep.
They didn't see an uptick in any kind of crimes.
Sure.
So that said, why clamp back down again?
Right. Yep.
So hopefully that'll become an environment where we see more breweries open in the state. Because what brewery do we bring up there as one of your favorites? Alternate Endings?
Yeah,
alt endings. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got to get there.
We're talking about cool. They're technically a brew pub. They're not.
Yes. They actually.
Well, wait a second. We got a brew pub in New Jersey that's actually got great beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a first.
Yeah.
Now I think part of that is because they pretty much outsource the food, which is kind of cool.
They don't do food in house. They outsource it. They outsource it to Tallulah's in Asbury, from Asbury Park.
They literally have an in-house Tallulah's kitchen, so they still have the brew pub license because it's on premises. The food's made, but they actually just focus on the beer, and it's a brew pub, so they can have liquor and all kinds of other stuff, obviously. And then Tallulah's basically takes care of the food, and it's actually super cool because it was an old movie theater.
Oh, really?
So that's why it's called Alternate Endings, and that's where they get a lot of their beer names and stuff. But you go in there, they have certain little booths that are like the old movie theater seats with a table in front of it. It's a cool place. It's definitely.
And then off to the side, there's another room that actually has a screen in it.
They do show movies there. They have still a projector room.
Do they have popcorn?
I don't know if they.
You just threw me back to my childhood in Ground Round.
Yeah.
You remember Ground Round, John?
Oh, I remember Ground Round, absolutely.
Always the cartoons playing, the popcorn.
Cartoons playing, peanuts on the floor, popcorn, peanuts on the floor.
You guys can come down, we'll grab a couple of beers at Alt Ending, and we'll go around the corner and hit Maloney's. So
there you go.
Yeah, so John, you were talking about bars earlier. Maloney's, gotta love Maloney's. I think the last time I went to Maloney's, there was this big lug behind the bar pouring. It's been that damn long, Matt. That the last time I was there,
was that?
You were pouring behind the damn bar.
Years.
It's been a while.
I walked in, I'm like, the hell? I don't remember who the hell I walked in with. It's like, oh, I know that guy.
One of the last times I was there that Matt was actually pouring behind the bar. I was sitting at the bar with Doug Edwards. So.
Dougie, I got, when I came back to Jersey, I told Dougie,
and Jess was there too. The three.
Jess is that's a given. I told Dougie we need to get together, and every time I get down there, I reach out to him, and we never connect. I got to get back.
See, I've seen him at Carton a couple times. But actually, that's another place that I feel bad that I haven't even been to. Is I haven't been to Jug Handle's new spot yet.
Same here. I've not been there, and I've been meaning to meet him there, but he's always busy when I come down into the area.
I have. I actually was able to hook up with him and actually have a couple beers with him on my birthday in April at Jug Handle. So,
well, the whole thing with Dougie, a lot of the stories that will not go.
I'm gonna cover his information but yeah.
There we go. There he is.
Doug Edwards, Jug Handle Brewing. There you
go. But a lot of the crazy ass stories from the Hunapoo days, it's with Doug.
With Doug, of course.
One of my favorite stories from Hunapoo, there was I think it was the night before Hunapoo, because they would always have the Brewer's bottle share. And the Brewer's bottle share, if you're into hunting whales, you go to the Brewer's bottle share, and every brewery there. Now you got to remember, Hunapoo only invites the best breweries. So every brewery there is looking to impress all the other breweries.
Yeah.
So they bring their whales, and you have all these tubs full of ice with all these bottles shoved in it, and everything's a goddamn whale. Yeah. So everybody there just gets plastered because you just want to drink everything that's there. We walk out of there, and we were with the guys from Proof Brewing, Dave and Al. We saw the palette of tasters for Hunapoo, and we kind of pilfered a few while we're walking past. This is the night before. We wind up, and we're with Scott and Bob from Bolero.
Right.
We get back to the hotel bar, and we're drinking, and we're drinking, and we're drinking. Dave and Al finally kind of peel off. Scott and Bob are in front of us, and Doug and I, we look up, and the waitress comes over. We order another round. We order barley wines.
Right.
Scott looks at us and goes, "How are you still drinking? What is wrong with you two?"
That's a very Scott thing. Yeah.
It takes a lot of practice to do that.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Same way.
Practice.
Exactly.
And
that's it.
It was at that point, Doug and I were probably at the height of our drinking abilities and our tolerance to alcohol. I
think I took that in college, Drinking Ability 101.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it got to the point.
It wasn't a sanctioned class, but I took it. I did.
Him and I, we'd stopped drinking when we got full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not when we were too drunk.
Yeah. Full. Oh, there's a difference.
There's a difference.
Sure.
Because we had a good buzz, but we were drunk.
Right.
Bob was falling asleep at the damn table. Scott
was falling asleep under the table.
Actually, he didn't fall asleep under the table. He actually helped Bob up to the room.
Oh, very nice of Scott.
But they cut off, and after they left, we finished our barley wines. We ordered another round.
There you go.
I tell you what, the next morning was rough.
There you go.
Well, not as of course. The time you were done your barley wines.
There you go.
Well, we started, but the next morning it was so rough and we were so hungover. We started drinking at 9 to beat the hangover.
There you go.
We stopped drinking at 4 a.m. that day. This is what you do at Hunapoo.
Sure. Already. So
on that note,
I know we've mentioned a certain man's name once tonight already.
We didn't say his, we haven't said his full.
We haven't said his first name.
His name for the second time.
Okay, go ahead.
Because one of the coolest beer things I did do this year was thanks to Mr. Augie Carton.
Sure.
And that was I actually went to Pastry Town.
Sure.
And poured for Carton.
There you
go. Which long story short, was basically Augie texted me for something, or actually he called me out of the blue for something. And then basically he's like, we were talking, and then he's like, "What are you doing Saturday?" And I actually was not working at Melovino on that particular Saturday.
Right.
He's like, "Come to Brooklyn, pour for us at Pastry Town." And it's funny because I'd just been at a bottle share earlier that week, saying how I will never go to Pastry Town. And I ended up there, but I mean, I didn't pay for it.
Irony hits.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? The good news is, like, if you pay for it, I feel like you have to run around and try it as much as you can because you paid all that money. Like, this was like, I just walked in the joint. So, like, I only had like 15 beers the whole day. And I just picked and choose, and I'd get one pour of that specific thing. And then I'd come back and I'd sit at the booth and pour for a little while I sipped on it. And then I'd go somewhere over there and get a glass of something. You know, and like, I didn't get all the crazy stuff like Mortalis had poured all their beers out, you know, before I wandered over there or stuff like that. But I had some really good beer, and it was just, it was cool to see. Like I said, I don't know if I would ever pay money to go there because it is pretty crazy. The average beer there, I think, is like 12 point something %, which is insane.
But that's one of the best parts about pouring, though, is you get to be behind the tables. You socialize with everybody else that's there, which is great. Yep. You get to network, and you get to pick and choose what you drink.
Sure.
And you're not paying for it.
And I also, like, I'm not standing in line like the plebes. I just literally...
That's right. You're walking behind going, hey,
let me try some of that. And they're like, here's your glass, sir. And I'm like,
one of the best, since we said his name twice already, I can't say it again, but one of the best stories I could say about him was up at EBF, maybe 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. We were all up there, a bunch of us. Brian was there, Gene, Jess, everybody. We're all up there. There's like 9 of us. Neil, Stacy, the bunch of us. And we all wanted to go to Jay Wakefield's booth. And there was literally about an hour line at Jay Wakefield's booth. And we're like,
I waited till the very end, and I got one of the Jay Wakefield beers.
It's like there's no way we can do this. We can't do this. We can't wait in line. We're going to miss so much. Let's just go around. So we all separated. Well, okay, you go here, you go here. I, by myself, walked over to the gentleman whose name I'm not going to mention again, to the carton booth, right? And I walk up there, get the bro hug. He grabs my glass, and he pours, in my 2-ounce glass, he pours about 4 ounces of regular coffee, of one of the variants or whatever, and hands it to me, and doesn't even say a word to me, grabs my shirt and says, come with me, and walks over, and we go over to the Jay Wakefield booth, and we walk in the back, and we're talking to Jonathan, and we're standing there, and the 3 of us are BSing, and I'm standing there drinking everything off the Jay Wakefield booth. All of a sudden, Brian and Stacy notice me. They're like, dude. I'm like, what was I going to say? Wait, I can't go over there yet. I got to get everybody else to come with us. So it was pretty
cool. The whole thing is the only time that I've ever walked behind a booth and poured off of a tap and got a dirty look from anybody was from Jonathan Wakefield.
Sure.
Him going, what do you think you're doing? Was the look that I got, and it's like, we're at Hunapoo. This is what everybody does to everybody's booth, and really most other places are honored when any other brewery comes and wants to try your beer.
Sure, of course.
Just not as much with Mr. Wakefield.
So going back to Pastry Town, though, he who will not be named, we brought 2 beers that he paired with flavored whipped creams.
There's just too many damn jokes there.
He paired with flavored whipped creams.
So the best part was that actually for half of it, I didn't even have to go pour myself beer because he was bringing people from other booths to try our stuff with the whipped cream. And like the next thing I know is I turned around, like the owner of Bottle Logic had a pitcher, and he's like, oh yeah, we're not even serving this beer on tap. He's like, I just brought this. And like, I don't even know what it was. Delicious. Some kind of mixed, cuvee barrel aged thing, but he was like it wasn't even being served at the booth, and it was like he came over and filled my glass up. I was just like,
but that's the best part about pouring.
Yeah,
you've got the brotherhood behind the taps. Mm-hmm. You're sharing everything you can share. There's stuff that comes out from underneath that is not for the general public.
Yeah, right.
That was a damn good band back in the 80s.
General Public?
Yeah. Enjoyed them.
Oh, boy.
But it's just so much fun when you're on that side of the table. And the one thing I've always said, the best part about it is the deeper you get into the event, the more you can verbally abuse the guests.
Right.
And they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember telling one guy that he looked like a fatter, gayer Patton Oswalt. And him and his friends just laughed their asses off.
Oh, Dave.
the things that you could say to people when you're giving them beer towards the end of a brew festival.
You know what? I hate to say it. You got to be a little more careful when you're asking them if they want whipped cream with that.
Right.
I was going to say the whole
Fair
it's
enough.
it's more of like you want whipped cream with that, and they're like, look at you, like, are you fucking kidding? You know, you're like, no, we're trained professionals. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But
Right.
anyway,
That's
so what do you think? I think we should get to some lists.
I think we should get to our top 3 list. What do you think?
To our top 3.
Where I mean, it was a segue before, and it kind of took a tangent. Little left turn. So,
yeah.
But it's all good. We mentioned barley wines. We mentioned how these beers, were it's hard to get 14 and above, even though there were so many big beers, which is why we went with it. So,
this is actually 2 top 3s.
It's going to wind up being 2 top 3s in one. So tonight's top 3 is top 3 favorite big beers, 14% and up.
I was going to say I only got 3, so I didn't do a past and a present.
You didn't do a past and a present. We did.
It goes to the beers of Christmas.
But your present.
beers of Christmas past.
Big beers of Christmas past.
So to be 2 of the 3 beers are beers that would be on my classic list, but I actually have had them in the last. Wow. Out of my top 3, 2 of the beers I've had in the last month, and all 3 I've had in the last 6 months.
There you go. So, all right.
Yeah.
So when we started that, Dave and I actually have a classic list and a 2021 list.
You told me the word was legacy.
Legacy. We have a legacy list. That works. It's all the same.
Nostalgic,
I'll start, whatever you want to call it. Legacy list and a 2021 list. So
like I said,
Matt will kick us off.
You can go with all the breweries and the Dogfishes and the Brooklyn Black Ops and all that kind of stuff.
But Black Ops does not reach 14 though.
Right.
What?
Well, the advertised ABV for Black Ops is not 14.
No,
it's under 14. But
they made certain variants that
they have a couple barrel age variants.
They have a couple variants. That's correct.
Yeah.
But I still think Black Ops is higher than what they advertise.
But
always.
So the first one on my list is also from one brewery that makes a lot of high ABV beers.
Are you going 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1?
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1.
All right, there you go.
So basically, this is number 3. It's from a brewery that makes a lot of big beers. It's the first brewery I ever walked into their brewery, looked at their board, and just said, "Oh hell no, it's not going to happen." And that's Avery. And my favorite big beer from them is Tweak. So that's a bourbon barrel aged stout with coffee in it.
I've not had that.
Straightforward, but so delicious. And I mean, at Avery, when they serve it to you off the tap, it's phenomenal, phenomenal. Sure. So it's interesting.
I've had it at Avery, and it is phenomenal. It's ridiculous
because I know that I think they've actually knocked the ABV down in it in recent years. So it used to be at like 17%. I think they've knocked this year's. I think they knocked it down to about 14.7.
Knocked it down to 14.
Down to 14%. Oh yeah. You can drink 3 or 4 of them if you want. Yeah, why not?
In 4-ounce tasters, maybe.
Yeah, but just big, stout, lots of coffee notes, lots of barrel in the finish, lots of big bourbon.
It's a great beer.
My number 2, and this is just it's probably the craziest beer to think of in certain ways because this is actually a lager, which you have to think about having a 14% lager. That's insane. But is semi-clush, or however you want to pronounce it. It's my German.
What do you say, Dave?
I've always pronounced it Sommerschloss.
Sommerschloss? How about Sammy Claus?
Sammy Claus. I don't think that's correct.
But it's a beer made in Austria. It is basically a Doppelbock. It's 14%, and it drinks a lot. Like a barley wine.
Yep. And until BrewDog came around and started futzing about, that was the highest ABV beer for quite a while.
Yeah, but it ages extraordinarily well.
Oh God, it does. Yeah,
I just had just 3 weeks ago. I had a 2014, which is now
amazing.
7 years old. I mean, it was amazing. It just drank so well.
And I had a 2014 last year, so I was 6 years old last year, but it was phenomenal.
And typically, lagers do not age well.
No,
but it is so well crafted.
And it's the ABV, and it has these. You develop some of the dark fruit notes.
Yep.
It has some of that
for a lager is insane.
Yeah, It's the most lager. It's the most unlagery lager that's ever lagered, basically.
Unlagery lager. You heard it here, folks.
Lager. That's ever lagered.
So if this is a lager,
unlagery lager that's ever been lagered.
This is the ultimate lager. I'm going to throw that out there.
It definitely is. Absolutely.
And then
number
one is both the best singular beer I had this year, and I've now had it twice, and it's both been incredible both years that I've been lucky enough to have it. It is from St. Louis. It's from Side Project. It's a beer called Beer Barrel Time, and it is a straight bourbon barrel aged stout, no adjuncts, but it is a cuvee of multiple stouts aged in multiple barrels for multiple times. I think this year's batch, the longest barrel aging stout that they put in was in a barrel for 42 months.
42 months.
42
months.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it's a cuvee of it's one of those things though that even though it has all these big moving parts, it still turns out to be a beer that's more than the sum of its parts. It is just so delicious a stout, and the barrel has so much depth to it. You get so much from the bourbon, so much from the wood, so much vanillin, dark like fig notes. You get everything in this beer, and it's just phenomenal. So that's a 15% cuvee of many different bourbon barrel aged stouts that they do at Side Project. Which
that sounds delicious, phenomenal,
and it's extraordinarily hard to get. And it's like anything now in this day and age, unfortunately, is there's hype around it and everyone goes nuts. And the second that someone buys a bottle, they turn around and sell it for four times the price and everything.
Actually, John, I was about to say, let's do Doug's next.
You want to do Doug's next?
All right. Let's do Doug's next.
Let's do Doug's next. All right. Doug Smith commented in his top three for I guess this year. He says his top three, 14% above for 2021. Boulevard Sugarwood Baklava.
That sounds ridiculously good.
Yeah, it does sound really good. I'm going to have to find that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sandwich Laws.
Yep.
And Matt beat me to
it. Doug did correct himself. Dogfish Head.
There you go. And Head.
It's
a different version.
And we're back to whipped cream.
There you go. Dogfish Head, Utopia's Barrel Aged Worldwide Stout. More on that in a few minutes. So there you go. Yes. That's Doug's list. There you go.
Anyway, that's my list.
That is your list. Cool. There you go. Run down again. Tweak, Sammy Claus, and Beer Barrel Time.
Beer Barrel BBT.
BBT. There you go. All right. Samurai, you want to go next? You want me to go?
Yeah, no, I'll go. And this is where we're going to split. And because Johnny and I both did the ones we had this year, and then he told me legacy
list.
Yeah. So the ones I only had, and I had to really go into my Untapped to figure this out. I only had 3 beers 14% or over in all of 2021, and I think the reason for that is because most of the beers I've had this year I've driven to, and I'm a responsible drunk. And I'm not going to hit those high ABV beers when I'm driving.
Yeah, but you could take them home with you and have them at home.
You can if they're available. If they're available to take. And most of the beers at this level, you're not going to find them available to take home.
Sure.
Unless they got them in bottles, and half the time they don't. More than half the time. So I'm going to actually. And this is uncharacteristic for me. I'm actually going to put numbers to these. I'm going to start with number 3 and count up.
There you go.
So number
legacy 3, first or 2021?
No, I'm doing 2021 first. Right. No, legacy. There's no 1, 2, 3 to legacy.
There's no 1, 2, 3 legacy.
They just what they are.
Gotcha.
So number 3 is Mad Rum Runners by Thimble Island. So when Carrie and I came back from Maine, on our way back, we hit Thimble Island's in Connecticut.
Sure.
And they've got some damn good food there. But we had this beer. It's a 16%. It tasted a little s'mores, cocoa, a little bit of smoke to it. It was the best beer they had. And Matt said earlier, for your best beer to be your highest ABV beer is kind of a rarity.
Right.
Unless you're Avery. Right. Right?
Sure.
That's a prize. So that was number 3. Number 2, and we're going right back to Matt here. Matt actually poured for me So anybody who tuned into our Cloverleaf beer dinner with Carton, and that show, the first one of the few live shows on location, one of the few shows that Johnny and I were at the same place at the same time, along with Matt, along with Brian, along with he who will not be mentioned. We had a great time there. At the end of it, after everything we had drank, Matt decides to open up a 15+% alcohol beer because I had Ubered there, so that was a damn good thing. We had a really good time, and that's the brewery's Chocolate Rain.
Right.
That was just a chocolate bomb and a half. It was like liquefying a brownie and tossing it in your face. Such a and not one of those cake brownies. If you prefer the brownies that are cake like, just eat chocolate cake. Don't call it a goddamn brownie. It needs to be fudgy. It needs to be a little
super fudgy, thick, heavy. Boom! Yeah. You got to actually bite through it. It's not like just falls apart. No.
And you need a glass of milk, something to get to swallow that damn thing. It's going to get stuck in your esophagus.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's not a fucking brownie. Stop.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just chocolate cake. It's a single layer chocolate cake.
Dave really, really takes his brownies seriously.
I take my damn brownies seriously.
You got to be on the ball.
So. Number one for me. Now, knowing that I had spent a good chunk of time up in Rhode Island, and I was close enough to Trillium to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars at Trillium during the COVID lockdown, I have a lot of Trillium on my list.
I know.
So. Their barrel age Observing Reason came in at 15.7%. This thing was all chocolate, vanilla, coffee, luscious. It's a beautiful beer. That was my number one beer in 2021. That was over 14%. Love that beer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my 2021 list, and those are the only three beers that I had. But I'm very happy that that beer, right? Because I think I ranked it at like 4.75 on Untapped.
Mm-hmm.
I just absolutely love that beer. So it's not a bad list.
No,
but 1 and 2 are definitely not a bad list.
Mm-hmm.
Now going to the legacies. Now we can talk all day about the BCBSs that we mentioned earlier.
Sure.
And I do want to throw an honorable mention out to Rushing Duck. Their barley wines. They had a couple of barley wines. Bless the Corners, Burn the Devil Out. Mm-hmm. These things are over 14%, and they're damn good beers.
Sure.
Really good beers. Love Rushing Duck. Love what they're doing. But what I've got to go to, and, some of the other honorable mentions, Parabola, year after year after year. This is just a solid damn beer.
Parabola's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a great beer.
Mm-hmm.
And if it counts as a beer,
mm-hmm.
Utopias.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think it counts more as a cognac, but that's just me. But yeah,
Is it a cognac? Is it a whiskey? I would call it more.
I think it's more cognac at that point. I mean,
Well, but a whiskey is more a distilled beer than a cognac is, and this is a distilled beer.
Okay, fair enough. But I'm getting a little bit.
It's got cognac notes.
It's got cognac notes. It's got more. It's the way the process, sure, but the notes that it imparts are much more cognac-like than just a straight whiskey.
Technically, I'd categorize it as a whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Flavor-wise, yeah, I'll give you cognac.
But let's just call beer. It's an honorable mention.
It's an honorable mention.
And I say that for a reason. I'll give you about a minute and a half.
I can say that the biggest ABV homebrew I've ever made was about 30%. And that I call a barley port.
A barley port. Yeah.
A barley port.
And to this day, I'm still waiting to try some of that.
Wait a second. You managed to get a homebrew to 30%.
Yes. So there's a good amount of cheating in there, but I'll explain it to you. So it's a 3-gallon batch. I basically use as much grain and then as like a 6 or 8-gallon batch, and then add 2 or 3 pounds of sugar on top. And then it's solely fermented with cherry floor yeast. And then, so what happens is you go through primary fermentation, then you leave it to do a secondary fermentation where you want it to develop the floor. So you dump a bottle of Irish whiskey and 2 ounces of lactic acid in it.
Okay.
So there's a bottle of Irish whiskey in a 3-gallon batch of beer.
So you juiced it.
Right.
Well, yeah, but
Which you can't do when you're brewing beer, but when you're making it at home, you can do whatever you want. So.
You have to do that to get the ABV up to where it will develop like the sherry floor on top.
Okay, well, so in that case,
you couldn't do that in a commercial brewery, but you can do it as a home brewer.
So in this case, as throwing a vanilla rum floater into Epitome will get you to 14.
Sure.
Yeah,
why not?
True.
Which I've done on many, many occasions.
Sure, of course.
Actually, Shipwreck's vanilla porter in Epitome,
right,
which has been sanctioned by the brewery.
Right.
But you will not find on Untapped. Yeah. So even though we've thrown all the honorable
Black Ship.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. Black Ship. I like that.
Black Ship. I like that.
Yeah.
So getting back to the legacy,
left, I would try that, but I drank it all.
I still have a few in here, and if Gene's still listening, I've got your 4-pack for you. But dude, you got to show up somewhere.
Did he Venmo you money?
No.
Oh, then it's still yours. So there you go.
I got you.
Save him a can
until I see him. Yeah. At any rate, so my legacy top 3.
There you go.
One of these is just a category. It is the brewery's Days series stouts. So we're looking at Gray Monday, Black Tuesday, Mocha Wednesday, and it so happens it's Thursday. These stouts, adjunct flavored the way they are, they've got a mouthfeel that is almost unbeatable.
Sure.
When it comes to adjunct imperial stouts.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have a dusty mouthfeel to them. And sometimes I will use dusty mouthfeel in a negative term, but in this case, it's a positive.
Wasn't that another nickname back in college?
Dusty mouthfeel?
Dusty mouthfeel.
I think I dated her.
Oh, yeah,
so that whole series right there, got to give it that one. This one is it's a whale for a lot of people, but all 3 of us have had it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, include Johnny, has had it at the brewery itself, and this is New Holland's Dragon's Milk Reserved Triple Mash.
Mm-hmm. That was my honorable mention on my list.
This beer it's just insane.
17%.
But you don't taste the 17. It is smooth AF.
It tastes like a 5% stout that you're drinking. It's ridiculous.
When you have a brewery, when you have one of those big brewery beers that's like 17 to 19, they're like right across your face, and you're like, "Holy crap!" You drank that triple mash Dragon's Milk, and you were just like, "I'll have 3 more of those."
Yeah, exactly. I told the story before. I was at New
out on the table, like.
Right.
Oh yeah, you get up off of your stool. You take one step, and how did I get on the floor?
How did this happen? Yeah, I'm at New Holland in Michigan, and they're only serving it at the brewery in 2-ounce pours. So you can have it. You can have as many as you want, but only 2 ounces at a time. So I finished one, have another. I had like 4 or 5 of them while I'm sitting there. Had to. It was just so good. But literally, and I paid for it later. Don't get me wrong. But
oh god, yeah.
But it was.
How many pours does it take to kick a keg?
Exactly.
This beer will punch you in the liver.
Yeah. It literally tasted like I was drinking a 5 or 6% stout. It was stupid. It's so good.
It's one of the most beautiful, approachable, huge beers out there. Mm-hmm. And I love this beer. If I ever find it again, I will buy as much of it as they will allow me to buy.
Mm-hmm.
I only saw it on tap. I never saw it in an actual bottle or package.
I don't even remember.
I've only had it on. The only time I had it was on tap at the brewery. It's the only time
I don't even remember where I had it.
I had it at Paragon. The Paragon had it on tap.
They did have it on tap.
Oh, of course they would have it on tap.
Ernie had it on tap.
I'm going to actually look up where I had this thing.
And I was with someone. They had exactly one of them, and I was like, I will have your keys now.
Yeah.
They could barely. They went to take a walk to the bathroom, and they were doing like this.
Sure.
They took a stumble to the bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah, they almost didn't make it.
Yeah.
I'm looking up where I had this.
Well, what's your number one before you while you're looking that up?
Well, I told you there's no order to this.
Well, what's your other one?
I'm looking up right now. Oh, you know when I had this? It was someone had brought it to Cloverleaf.
Oh, somebody had it in a bottle.
Yep, they brought it to Cloverleaf. I think Ryan had it.
Well, that makes sense.
And it was November 7th, 2016. That date should mean something to you, John.
Yeah. I must have had it too.
You had to have had it too, because this was this was the charity event after John's house burnt to the damn ground. So that's where I had that.
There you go.
So
and you didn't remember that off the top of your head, damn it.
No, not off the top of my head. Actually, I remembered that, and then I've had how much beer?
There you go.
So it kind of got lost.
Gotcha.
So the third one on this list, we're going back to Hunapu. So the first Hunapu that Carton was at,
right?
I was there with Hugh, who will not be mentioned, and we left someone to watch the booth before they released the Hounds,
right?
And we made a beeline to Toppling Goliath. Someone wanted their IPA. What's their big IPA? What's the name of that thing?
Who Toppling Goliath?
Pseudo Sue. King Sue.
No, he was looking for Pseudo Sue because King Sue had not been released yet.
Okay.
Pseudo Sue was the only Sue they had at the time.
Okay.
I was there for SR71.
Okay.
SR71 is a 15% Imperial Stout, barrel aged. This thing it's basically a liquid, boozy ass Three Musketeers.
Very nice.
Ever since I've had it, I've looked for it everywhere I've gone. They only seem to brew it every 3 years.
Makes sense because it takes 3 years to do so.
Oh my God, this was a beautiful thing. I kept wanting to go back there, but I had my duties because I was pouring for Carton at the time.
There you go.
And at the time, they were doing it in the parking lot of the brewery.
Right.
And what was interesting is they had a VIP lounge, but it was not for people who paid for VIP.
Right.
It was actually for all the people that were working there.
Right. Gotcha.
So you'd go in there, and there was beers that most human beings who drink beer can't find. Oh, again, I mentioned the brewer's bottle share.
Right.
That's kind of where it started.
There you go. Well, there you go. Awesome. All right. So those are yours.
So those are my legacies. So now your two top threes.
I will breeze through mine. Of course, as far as legacy goes, I'll do mine. I'll do my 2021s first.
Yes.
I'll do my 2021s first. Here we go. I'll do a 3-2-1. There you go. It's going to be a Utopias barrel-aged worldwide stout. Doug, there's your nod right there.
That's Matt, not Doug.
No, Doug mentioned it was one of his three.
Okay.
And there's the bottle, Matt. There you go, right there.
Matt has it.
Utopias Barrel Worldwide Stout. I got to say, Worldwide Stout's a delicious beer. Don't get me wrong, but you need to sit on it for a while. You need to sit on it for at least a year or two, and it just opens up. It gets more, it develops more in the bottle the more you sit on it. It's a little too hot.
In the first 3 years, it's nearly undrinkable.
Yeah, you really get it. But I got to tell you, this is the first time ever that I've had a fresh Worldwide Stout that I was able to finish, and it was amazing. And obviously, it's because it sat in the Utopias barrel. So,
the only time that I was able to drink a fresh Worldwide Stout and enjoy it, Cloverleaf had ran it through a Randall of espresso beans.
Fair enough. There you go.
Cut that cloying sweetness.
Just cut it. There you go.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But the Utopias barrel,
just make a heaven and hell. Then you can
heaven and hell. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. But Utopias barrel.
Oh God, no! I can't drink a heaven and hell. What is wrong with you? So a heaven and hell for those who are uninitiated into it. That's 120.
Yeah, it's
a black and tan.
Black and tan, but it's 120, which is like 22%, with the worldwide, which is 18%. So you end up with a 20% black and tan.
Yeah. And it's
but the two beers balance each other pretty well.
No, they do. They make it more undrinkable.
I like it.
Well, I like it better. One of these days, honestly, I want at least a 5-year-old, if not 6 or 7-year-old, 120 and Worldwide Stout, and make a black and tan.
Give me at least 5-year-old Heaven and Hell, and I will try it. But a fresh Heaven and Hell,
there you go.
That just accentuates the undrinkability.
So that's my number 3, Utopias Barrel Worldwide Stout.
That one you got, Matt, there, because I know that's a 120 you have in your hand. I can tell by the bottle cap.
No.
Right.
Oh, it's a dog. Okay, so
that's a worldwide.
That's a worldwide.
How old?
Oh, that's a Burton. No, that's a Raison d'Extra. There we go. These, I think, are at least 3 or 4 years old.
All right.
Okay, so in 2 years, we're going to get together and do a Heaven and Hell.
There you go.
Yeah.
So.
I forget. They print the date somewhere on it.
Somewhere on
usually
it.
It's on the neck.
I don't know if you can look real close, but that's all dust on these two.
That is dust. Yeah, so they've been around for a while.
So yeah, that's
what has the cleaning lady not been in?
These are marked for a Heaven and Hell.
I have. There you go. I have a few worldwides. I have a few. I actually believe I have 10-year-old worldwides downstairs. I got at least.
Actually, I hate to say this. I'm going to cut in real quick. I did find a bonus, like runner up, and that's Raison d'Extra.
Raison d'Extra is an amazing beer.
I'm surprised that.
Absolutely.
I would be surprised if it wasn't on Johnny's list.
It's not on my list, but and I'm saying right now, it's definitely a legacy wise. It's definitely a
because I know
that
my close fourth, if you will.
Big Dogfish beer, to be fair.
Yeah, it's so good.
That and Old School, I know you love.
Raison d'Extra and Old School are probably my two favorite Dogfish Head big beers. But I haven't had them this year. That's why they're not on this list. And they're not my top 3 all time, so they're not on the other list. So there you go.
Because my legacy list, if it wasn't for some other beers, Dogfish Head Fort may have made it.
Sure, absolutely. But anyway, so Utopia's Bro.
I do like Fort. It's just,
as long as higher math doesn't.
Higher math, no. Higher math, no. It's just wrong.
No, I like higher math.
No, it's horrible.
I like higher math, but Fort, it's funny. Because Fort to me is a hypocritical,
right?
Because I don't like Mad Elf because I think it's just cherry rocket fuel.
But the one I had on the show a few weeks ago though, it was sitting in my fridge for a year and it was phenomenal.
But I've had some aged ones that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But Mad Elf I usually don't enjoy because I think it's cherry rocket fuel. But Fort is just raspberry rocket fuel.
Right.
But I enjoy Fort, and it's funny because I like cherry better than raspberry, but I prefer Fort over Mad Elf.
So back to my list.
Oh, you have a list?
So my number 3 this year, 2021 list, Utopia's Barrel Aged Worldwide Stout. My number 2, Matt and I actually did have this at the same time. It was brought to a bottle share at Casa de Ol. That would be our other producer Brian's abode, and it was brought by
one of the other dipshits.
By Mr. Neal, brought it from his honeymoon in Alaska. A Deal with the Devil, triple oaked. It was a triple oaked 17% barley wine from Anchorage Brewing. Amazing beer.
Anchorage makes great stuff.
It was really, really.
They make great stuff. Very overpriced, but great stuff.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, Neil brought it to a bottle share, so I was good with that.
Yeah, it was to Johnny. It was free.
Yeah, there you go. But it was phenomenal. It really was very tasty. Got to say it. And my number 1, and again, I did actually share this with Matt. It was an 8-ounce bottle that Matt and I had shared at, I believe it was J&J's Outpost. That would be right there. That bottle right there. Cane's Wooden Cleat. And had I known that beer was going to be as good as it was. They're 8-ounce bottles. They were $8 a piece. I would have bought 20 of them.
Matt is doing his best Vanna White impression.
Vanna White impression, right? Exactly. There you go. Wooden Cleat by Cane Brewing. It's a 14% barley wine. It was aged, I believe it was 26 months in Woodford Reserve barrels. I believe, if I'm right. Am I right?
Blend of barley wines aged in Woodford Reserve double oaked bourbon barrels.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go. Amazing. It was and. It did not pour like a barley wine. It poured like a stout. It was amazing. It was so deep and dark. It was so good. It was so good. It was such a good beer. But anyway, so those are my 2021s. My legacy list, and of course I'll throw honorable mentions up there for Utopias. You just have to. But my number 3 for legacy, I'm going to go brewery here. Grey Monday is my favorite. Dave, you mentioned the Days series. Grey Monday is my favorite of the Days series, but as far as the my number 3 on the list is bourbon barrel aged pottery. It's from the brewery. It's a 16.8% old ale, and you know me and my old ales. It's just
this is old ales.
Amazing.
That's
beer.
One of the best ones. Though.
So good. It's ridiculous.
So much dark fruit.
Oh yes, the caramel and the toffee, and super bourbon. So it was great. It's a amazing beer. If I ever come across a bottle again, we will be enjoying it. Don't worry about that. But it's not in production anymore. Yeah, we do. So that's my number 3. Number 2, I went Avery. Number 2, Tweak is
Big
definitely
surprise.
up there. Tweak is right. Tweak is up there. And so is Pumpkin with a KY in there. Pump KYN and Rumpkin and all of those. But to make this list right tonight was Uncle Jacob's Stout, 16.9% Imperial
Uncle
Stout.
Jacob. You have an Uncle Jacob?
Uncle Jacob's Stout, yeah, amazing beer. Had it a few times, and Brian will actually tell you too. And I know he's not watching tonight because he's on a boat. He's on a motherfucking boat.
Yes, he is.
He and I actually had it at AC Beer Fest a few years ago. Avery actually tapped a sixtel of Uncle Jacob's Stout at an AC Beer Fest. And Brian and I probably drank the most of it.
Question for Matt.
Yeah.
For Matt. Why do scuba divers fall backwards out of the boat?
Well, it depends. You either do a giant stride off, fins first, or you fall backwards off.
Well, the whole thing is.
Are you asking this like as a setup to a joke?
Is there a
or
joke coming up?
Yeah, because if they fall forwards, they're still in the goddamn boat.
Fair enough.
Well, forward, they're still in the boat. There you go. But he'll be here all week.
Yes.
Tip your bartenders.
Try the veal.
Yeah.
Exactly. And my number 1, and I don't think there's any going to be any debate about this for being my number 1, would be Sam Adams Triple Bock.
Oh God, so the
When
day
you had
I
it
met
20 years ago.
Probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
the day I met,
But
it
it was a 94 that I had,
Yeah.
and I'll give you 3 guesses to which bar I had it at.
Cloverleaf.
That would be the Cloverleaf, right?
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah.
So
Ryan and I were having a couple of beers, and in fact, I think we had Grey Monday that night too. And he says, "You know what? Screw it," and he walked away. He comes back like 15 minutes later with 2 bottles of 1994 Triple Bock, and he poured them off. I'm like,
so
oh, wow.
the Triple Bock that I had, Leon Cooper, Coop, the Senpai, whatever you want to call him. Him and I started off at the Cloverleaf to pre-game a beer festival.
Right.
Went to the beer festival and then post-gamed the beer
aggressive
festival. Yeah.
That's even more aggressive move. He went back.
We post-gamed it at Hot Rods.
Oh, even better. There you go.
Chris Weisner's behind the bar. The day I met Gene Lynch, as a matter of fact.
Well, you needed a lot of beer then.
Because Chris calls him, says, so I got this guy coming. He's bringing a special beer. You're going to want to be here.
Right.
And I brought a 94 Triple Bock.
Mm-hmm.
It was corked as fuck. So we had to run it through a strainer.
Mm-hmm.
We had to push the cork into it because it disintegrated when we put the corkscrew into it.
Okay.
So we ran it through a strainer.
Well, you got to learn the straw trick.
What?
Yeah.
The straw trick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we actually thought we could get it out. It didn't look like it was cork, so we did try the corkscrew, and it just destroyed the thing. So we ran it through a strainer, and man, this thing was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, the 94. I mean, there was 93, 94, 97, 96, and 97, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4 years. And there are bottles out there still. So, I mean, if there's any around, let's put it this way. Unless somebody's charging you $1 billion for it, it's worth it. Spend a couple
Actually,
if you're that.
You know what? I think I had the 90. I think it was the 96 I had.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Crystal, who had worked at the Cloverleaf at the time and is now with
he's with Hunterdon.
Mm-hmm. He we invited him. He said, "Yeah, good luck with that. They're all corked. They're all awful.
Mm-hmm.
They're all just like licorice syrup at this point."
No, this was phenomenal.
So when I texted him, said, "Dude, you missed out. This thing was phenomenal." He goes, "Bullshit." Gene texts him. Chris Weisner texts him, and he's like, "God damn it!"
Yeah, they missed out.
I missed one of the few bottles of the. It was 96.
The 94 is amazing, and I will also give a nod, and I gave nods to other breweries and to other Averys. I'll give another Sam Adams nod. It was a 15.4% that I had. I actually had it in the barrel room at Sam Adams up in Boston. It was a Macallan barrel aged Scotch ale.
Really?
It was a 15.4% Macallan barrel aged, 18-year-old Macallan barrel aged Scotch ale in the barrel room. That was so good. Didn't beat the triple bock, but it was there. It was really, really good.
So not for nothing, that younger generation that'll make fun of Sam Adams, saying, "Hey, they're not a crap brewery anymore." Mm-mm. They will do stuff,
sure,
here and there. Now, granted, when we were up in Boston, Carrie and I stopped at their Boston tap room.
Mm-hmm. The one by Quincy Market. Faneuil Hall.
Yeah, Faneuil Hall.
Across from Faneuil Hall, yeah.
Right across from Faneuil Hall. And, yeah, most of what we had there was what you would expect from what Sam Adams does now.
Sure.
Some of them were actually pretty damn good, but they
have 2 or 3 offerings there, maybe 1 or 2, depending on the week or whatever, that are like phenomenal stuff. Everything else is... your typical Sam Adams.
But so that great stuff is what they are actually capable of when they apply themselves. There was a time there when they realized, hey, we're falling out of the craft beer scene, and they decided to get back into it. And I mentioned earlier, we're talking about how you were talking about bocks, and I said I like smoked bocks, and they smoked a bock. It's called Cinderbock.
Cinderbock's amazing.
That was an amazing beer. Mm-hmm. It was. Holy crap, that was a great beer.
Yep.
So they're still, don't write them off. They're still capable of putting out some really, really good stuff.
You talk about making bocks, though. I mean, their double bock is amazing. Just regular. It's they don't call it's not double bock. They're double bock. It's their limited series or whatever. It'll say double bock on it. And they only brew it every now and then.
Yep.
But it's amazing. It's an amazing beer.
So they can still put some phenomenal stuff out there. And yes, most of the stuff they've been putting out lately, okay.
Well, I mean, they're trying to hit all markets, right? I mean, it's business is what it is.
So when we went there, they had so many beers on tap. I really wish they would concentrate on just a few beers and make them well, because they're capable.
Big time capable.
Still capable.
If it wasn't for Jim Cook, all right. If it wasn't for Jim Cook, this entire industry will be
on the East Coast. On the East
Coast will be about, I'd say, 10 years behind what it is.
Because we would have to have waited for Anchor and Sierra Nevada to make
their way over here to get us going where we
because those are the 3 OGs in the craft beer world. Mm-hmm. When it comes to larger breweries, there were so many smaller breweries that helped drive it and influence those 3 breweries. But those were the 3 breweries that made it commercially viable.
Sure. Yep, they did. So
and really drove the revolution. So you're right. Without Sam Adams, we would have had to wait to Sierra Nevada and Anchor to make their way across.
I would say maybe a little less, but I would say somewhere between 5 and 10 years. I would say we'd be behind. We wherever the industry is in the East Coast right now, I would say at minimum 2015, if not 2012, 2013, 2020.
I agree with you to a point. I think the craft beer revolution would have started 5 to 10 years later. I think because the Northeast is so aggressive, I think we would have caught up very quickly.
Yeah, we'd still be behind where we are now, though.
We'd be behind, but I don't think 10 years behind. Maybe not even.
That's why I said 2015.
Years. Yeah, maybe not even. Yeah. I don't think even 5 years behind.
There you go. And kudos to Matt.
For not actually peeing
during the show on camera.
Camera or audio.
Or on audio, at least, yeah. unlike a name who shall not be mentioned tonight.
And one other human being.
And another BB. We'll call him BB.
Who did basically a trucker bomb.
There you go. Exactly. Wasn't a Snapple bottle, but it worked the same way. Let's put it that way. So.
Oh, God, that was hilarious. So. He tried to pass it off, but we called him out.
There you go. So, anyway.
But Matt's lucky because his bathroom's like right there.
Right there. So he's good. All right. Let's wrap the show up by saying what some of our what a couple of our favorite guests and our favorite shows were this year.
Matt
just one or two. Any show that Matt was on. Let's give it that way, right?
And we're gonna exclude Matt, Tom, and Tony from it.
Okay.
Because those are especially.
Just remember, we've said somebody's name twice already. So.
Yeah, we can't say his name, but
we'll exclude him as well.
But you look at Tony, you look at Tom. These are special individuals on the way that we're special. Mm-hmm. So we're going to exclude them as well. So we got to find our favorite guest from 2021, huh?
Well, you know what? Let's sum it up this way. Me personally, and Dave, you can concur with me. You can go against me or whatever, but I will say that every single guest, they brought something to the show that was unique.
Absolutely.
So there's nothing. There's no, by us saying what our favorite shows were, we think our best shows were, or whatever. We're not putting anyone down by any means that we didn't mention in that list by any means.
The one thing we did learn in 2021 is that your tour guides, they're tour guides for a reason.
Sure.
Right. What was her name from Allagash?
Lindsay.
Yeah. So Lindsay knew everything about the brewery, the history of the brewery, the beer, the process, everything, and brought the personality of a tour guide to it. So we learned in 2021 that these are great people to have on the show because they can speak intelligently to the brewery itself.
Absolutely.
And bring a personality into it that's positive, uplifting, and energetic.
Sure. And I would say she's probably one of the top. I mean, that was probably one of the better shows. And for that reason too. For those
exact reasons. That's
for those
why.
reasons. Gretchen was another great show.
Gretchen was a great show who's got a lot of insight because Gretchen is one of the most
she's an OG
knowledgeable
from New Jersey.
Yeah, she's one of the most knowledgeable brewers out there. And we mentioned during that show that if you've taken tour after tour after tour of every brewery and you go to Little Dog, take the damn tour because she's going to teach you stuff that you didn't learn on the other tours.
Exactly. You're gonna come out of there knowing a lot more about brewing than you would on any other brewery.
Yep.
For now, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, no, she was one of the better guests. John Hall, that show was.
Well, we just had a lot of fun with John.
That was just on a fun level.
He's got such. His sense of humor is online with our really sarcastic, dark sense of humor.
Sure.
And the fact that he puts up with he who will not be mentioned on a very regular basis gives him a fortitude that is unseen in most human beings. So you got to give him his props.
Absolutely.
Tony Forder was a great show.
Tony Forder was an awesome show. That was an awesome show. We got a lot. L Street News has been around for so long, and it's actually in the back burner for Tony now.
It was even outside the L Street News. It's just him, his knowledge of the business
and the beer and everything. Sure,
but also his personality, his sense of humor.
Absolutely.
He doesn't take himself very seriously. Because let's face it, we've had guests that take themselves kind of damn seriously,
and you get a lot out of them, and that's great.
You still get a lot out of them, but it's a lot more fun when you get those people that don't take themselves seriously, can joke about themselves, their role in the craft beer world, and underplay what they've done for the craft beer world.
Exactly, Matt. What would you say your favorite moments from this year were on this show?
Well, again, I have to say, he who will not be named, but I did really love the live show from the Cloverleaf.
That was an awesome night.
Brian and the whole staff there absolutely killed it. And even though we did the show, and then the beer dinner that we had there, the food and the pairings with the beers were just simply incredible.
And that's a shame that the listeners didn't get to stick around for the show, for the beer pairing, for the beer dinner.
Yeah. The show was done. We finished. Anybody listening, anybody watching it on Facebook and YouTube, anybody listening to it afterwards.
And I think that's my biggest regret about that show is that it was two sides. You had the listeners that got the show, and the people that were for the beer dinner couldn't really hear what we're doing. Yeah. And then when we got to the beer dinner,
well, there was a lot of chatter going on, and there were points in the show that they actually did lower the chatter and listened, and most of those while we were involving. We're involving Ryan from the Cloverleaf, and we're involving the gentleman who shall remain Mr. Carton.
Yes. So it was interesting because we did the Nobo show last week. Right. And what we did at the Cloverleaf was kind of, like I said, it was kind of disjointed and you said, like I said, there were some moments where the audience were kind of involved.
Sure. Yeah, we
But
did involve them a few times. We did.
But for the most part, they couldn't hear what we were doing.
Right. When it got to a point where it was just the three of us chatting, or if Brian was on, or whoever
But even
it was.
when he who should not be mentioned, and that they couldn't hear us.
Probably my other favorite moment was having John Kompanic on, and he's probably the first guest who didn't drink any beer on the damn show.
Yeah,
Oh God, yeah.
He was so over from his birthday, like the preceding day.
The night before was his birthday, and he was so hungover that he actually laid across his bed with his laptop and did the entire show. No beer, laying on the with his hand on his head doing the show. That was great.
The thing is, so last week when I was at Novo, we were able to include the people in the tasting room.
Right.
They were actually listening. There was a group that was outside that pulled it up on their laptop. They were listening outside. That's why I got that bread pudding.
Because they were outside.
Because they were outside.
and then the guy with the truck came in too. He was on. We got him on the show too.
And we pulled him on the show. So we had so much interaction with the people in the space.
Right.
Which was, I wish we'd had more of that at the Cloverleaf show.
Right. Yeah.
But we had.
Well, the next one we do, here's the thing. It's twofold, right? The next one we do, we'll know that. For next time, we'll actually get a little more interacting with specific people, if not everybody for that matter, depending on how big the crowd is, in the crowd. And also, everybody in the crowd will know that they need to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on because they'll pick up a little bit more and we'll involve them a little bit more. So it's twofold.
Yeah, but you got to remember, a lot of the crowd that was there, they were there for the beer dinner.
And people that are listening to the upcoming shows or the precursor shows prior to the whatever dinner is coming up after that will know that the beer dinner was so good they really need to buy the tickets and go to the next beer dinner because it was just so amazing. So, and
also know in 2022 we're going to do more shows where we're in the same place.
Yes, we will be doing that as well. We'll be doing more shows from the same location. And who knows? Maybe a few of the new breweries will open up and we'll be able to do some shows from location on any of those.
What we plan to do is we will probably do a special show from a brewery opening.
We could do that too. We
need to do that. We just need to find a brewery out there that's opening that's willing to host us.
We could do that. We'll have to work on that.
And I know for a fact there is one brewery that will do that for us.
We should look into them. We should do that. We should work on them and definitely work on that for 2020.
Well, put it this way. Sure. The one of the owners, actually two of the owners, the owner, the silent owner, the third owner, who's actually the head brewer. Mm-hmm. It's coming up in 2022. I know all three of them. I've got an in.
You do?
I've got an in.
Awesome.
I can get us there.
Perfect. All right.
I will get us there.
Let's do that.
I will let you know when this happens.
Let me know, and we'll put it out there where we'll promote it. I can't say
anything right now because they don't have all their licensing yet.
Okay, fair enough.
But once they do, we will be able to mention who they are.
That's awesome.
And where they are. And I from what I've heard, they're going to Gypsy Brew first before they actually get their space.
Okay, that's cool.
They'll
have beer up front then.
Sounds like a pretty solid plan, if you ask me.
It's a great plan. It was 2 Ton did this.
Mm-hmm.
They did the same thing.
Ross is doing this.
Right? Ross is doing this, yeah.
Right. So you've got that, and I know for a fact that this brewery that's going to open in 2022, they got places Gypsy Brew first. Mm-hmm. And the places they're going to Gypsy Brew, these are great breweries.
Sure.
So they got some great equipment to work on, and when they finally hit, and I know the head brewer knows his shit.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be great when these.
Will you share it with me afterwards? Because I'm really
curious
to know.
When we come offline, I will let you know who I'm talking about.
Right.
Hopefully, you'll introduce me.
I'd like to know.
Yeah,
I really would.
We'll get
awesome.
you guys. We'll get you guys involved.
Definitely would. And you got to hook that up. Let us know after we're done, and definitely hook that
and
show up.
And I promise all of our viewers when they go live, when they go live, and we'll see. They'll probably go when they go live as far as brewing. Mm-hmm. We'll be there.
Okay.
And then when they go live, when they're with their actual space, when they get their actual space, we'll go live there as well.
Nice, cool. Were you going to say something, Matt?
Yeah, I was going to say another one of my favorite guests was John Henderson, just because.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's always entertaining. AC Beer Fest is one of the biggest.
Oh God, that was a fun show. That was a fun show.
It's nice to get like some of the. I've known John for a long time. It's cool when you get some of like the little insight of all the. The behind the scenes BS if you want to get it.
Absolutely. Sure,
with the
absolutely.
show and everything like that, because there's a lot.
Was Crooked Current in 2021?
Crooked Current was in 2021. Yeah,
That
Nicole
was
was on the show in 2021. Yeah, she was good.
That was a fun show.
And then brought it up in the middle of the show that her and I actually talked at a beer fest in Rhode Island in 2017. So that was pretty funny.
So that was a fun show.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun shows in 2021. Despite the climate of 2021, we've had a good year.
We have. And I've enjoyed every minute of everything we've done all year. We only took 1 week off, and that was a vacation week, and that was the week that we were in Maine anyway.
We were in Maine, and
you were already in Maine, and I left on the day after the show.
You got Allagash, so you set up some shows from that.
Set up some shows from up there, yeah.
We
absolutely.
Set up 2 shows.
Yeah, and a couple coming. Coming. We'll have coming up in 2022. No dates booked yet, but Night Shift, which we call Dorchester, is coming up. And we'll firm them up. We have next week. We're going to kick off 2022 next week with Joe Del Calzo from Bricks. He's going to be on the show next week.
And we've got and we're going to get back to some of my Rhode Island roots sometime in January.
We're going to get back to in January. We're going to get back to some of your Rhode Island roots. And really quick, a friend of ours, a friend of the show's, I wanted to say Happy New Year, gentlemen. James Healy.
Hey, Jim, how we doing?
There you go.
Oh God, when was I think the last time I saw Jim, we were in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, yeah, that was a while ago.
In Spite and Dival.
Like 2+ years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Jim.
Yeah.
Jim,
Happy New Year, Jim.
Happy New Year, Jim. Jim only drinks 2 beers a year.
2 beers a year and a couple of sips every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then.
But,
so that trip
he
to
does
Brooklyn,
know beer and appreciate it. He's a very big beer appreciator.
And those that particular trip to Brooklyn, I think his 2 beers all happened on that trip.
His 2 beers for the year. Well, actually, I think it was 3 that day, but they all happened.
I think we talked him into 3, and we gave him quite a few sips that day.
Sure, yes, we did. So anyway, all right. Well, I think that we got a lot. We really loved 2021 was great, and we got a lot more in store for you in 2022. Okay. So on that note,
2022 is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot coming up. You thought 2021 was fun on this show? Wait till 2022. That's all I got to say. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So let's wrap the show up then. What do you think? We're only 2.5 hours in. What do you think,
John? This is now our longest show ever.
This is the longest show ever. Yes, this is officially the longest show.
They're always
going to be long. There you go. Anyway, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching.
Down to get the friction on.
Exactly. I want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening to this 2.5-hour show. Anyway, don't forget to visit our website,
www. We didn't bore you on this show.
Exactly. www.logroom.com. That's LEGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 6:30.
Ish.
Thank you. Geez, you missed your... I
left
it open for you this time.
Yeah, you surprised me because you've been running.
I've been saying around 6:30 because it is around 6:30. There you go. So anyway,
around for those 6:30.
Exactly.
John is a very good horseshoe player.
Exactly. Just get close. That's it. Just got hit. You're within that. If you're within that horseshoe, you're good.
Horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear bombs. You just need to kind of be in the area.
Exactly. And for those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Plus, the show is now available on Amazon Music Podcast and iHeartRadio as well.
I subscribe to iHeartRadio, by the way.
Very nice, awesome. Yeah. It's about time.
I think I've subscribed to 2 of our channels now.
There you go, Apple and iHeart, right?
No,
or Spotify and iHeart.
No. Okay, so 3: Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube.
There you go. All right. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds yourself, and you'll never miss a show.
I have no idea what Stitcher is.
There you go. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve. Have a happy and healthy and safe New Year. Have a very safe New Year's Eve.
Very safe New Year's Eve.
Very safe New Year's Eve. Drink a lot, but drink responsibly. We've had a great 2021 with you. We are looking forward to a great, even better 2022 with you. And we'll talk to you all soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm out of beer.
Yeah, I go get more on too. Happy New Year.
Are we done?
Happy New Year. We're not out yet, Matt.
We're not out yet. So Happy New Year.
We're still live. Look up in the upper left-hand